Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the EU HCS Summer Pro League Finals, but this is Relegation Day. We've already had one great game today which saw Dinosaurs go down into the losers bracket, but this is our second winners bracket game, Plaza versus NTSC. My name is Bryce, and joined to break this one down on the analysis desk, two wonderful gentlemen, Onset and Sims.
Thank you very much.
That's not a problem, how are you?
Pretty good, a lot more better after seeing that game number one, because what a way to start day number one. You know, we're in relegation, and the team which chose the lesser of two evils, and this is what I said, all four teams that are in this relegation, they're all pro in my eyes and not to be treated as amateurs in any way, shape or form, but to see a Pro League team get knocked into losers bracket straight away within the first game, it's really going to set a precedence and kind of fire up Saturday. You know, this is what it's all about. Two of these teams will of course lock their position in fall season, and everything's on the line.
It certainly is, and I think that's some of the pressure that maybe we can attribute Dinosaurs now. They've been under pressure in their first game, they've now actually put themselves under even more pressure. There's no second chances now. Whoever drops down, it's win or go home. So I'm kind of curious to see how they kind of cope with that now. Not only did they go 0-6 in the league, but now in the final 6 games, but now they've come into the qualifier and they've lost again, and that's certainly going to put a little bit of a dampener on them to begin with.
An interesting point about that is they'll now potentially have to play the team they didn't want to play. So, they had got to pick the team they wanted to play in relegation. Now they have to play the team that they did want to play in relegation. So if that's their performance against the team they didn't want to play, I think we have to probably send some prayers out for them at the moment.
Yeah, it's not looking good, but the Bucks, at the end of the day, they've been doing this for many, many years now, and we always talk about the Bucks, and I think sometimes we allude to the fact that is a four-member team at the end of the day, and you've got people like Cristola on there, Flames. Those guys can go off, they're amazing players, and as a team, they're pretty incredible, but it's still all about, and Harry mentioned about Buck 20 and how it's been a bit of a poor performance from him. It's definitely safe to say, if those two guys really step up the game, they're going to be in Pro League. But it all kind of lands on the brothers doing the work, and still, I'm a big fan of saying, if you're going to go out and you're going to lose, you do it as a team, do it as a four. There's no individual player. You can't just start blaming people. But if they want to win, if those two players go off and go huge, they'll be in fall season, guaranteed.
It's so strange, isn't it? Because we've talked about Buck 20 being probably the most consistent Halo player since Halo 3 in Europe. And now, for the first time ever, people may be going, he needs to step up. I don't think I've ever said that about Buck 20 before. Saying Buck 20 has to step up here if their team wants to succeed. It's quite a strange feeling.
It's a different 20 to what we saw at Worlds, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
I think that's the issue. It's slightly different because we know what these guys are capable of. We've seen what they can do in Pro League. We see what they've done in the past, and I think we do need to send a few prayers their way, especially if they have to play one of the French rosters, because, my word, those guys are beasts.
They're going to be fired up.
This is going to be a good game.
Speaking about a good game, and speaking about this game in particular, it is going to be a French showdown. All right, let's talk about these two teams then and kind of kick it off. Onset, give me your first thoughts as when you see this matchup come down.
This is one of the matchups I'm most excited for the whole of this weekend. And that is no understatement. We've seen NTSC fight their way through the qualification and through the finals in the open circuit, and boy did they look strong. You talk about Solo, we talk about Talik, and then we talked about this is what we did, mistake we made the first time, is we forgot about the other two players on the team. We look at Nurix, we look at Shady, and they were pulling out the craziest plays when the other two weren't. So it's not like a two-man team, it's a four-man unit. And then you've got Pulse Gaming, who halfway through the season made some changes in that transfer period, and they became a different team altogether. They were the team, I think, that most people did not want to play in the second half of that. Outside of Fabi, they just became a ridiculously dangerous squad, and those two teams are fighting for the name of the number one team in France.
It really was night and day compared to you hit the nail on the head. Compared to how they started it off, compared to how we started the season, to how we ended it with the new players and such. But the one thing that we have to talk about when we passed all the vetoes and stuff is how Solar is now facing his team that he actually was in Pro League with at the start of it and then left. And we kind of said, is Solar the failing because he left, and then everything like, hey, we can win games now. Happy days.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we get into that and we find out the answer to that question, we do have the vetoes are ready. So, let's have a little look at the map vetoes and how they actually go down. We'll find out exactly how the two teams have decided to play this one. So, for map 1, we should be seeing the vetoes come up now. Is there anything we're actually expecting from these two teams?
I think anything you kind of want to get a power weapon, especially with the sniper rifle. We know the French do like to snipe. I know every team likes to get a sniper rifle in hand, but there's certain key players, like you look at Talik, you look at Solar. If you stick a weapon in the hand like that, they aren't going to snap your face off. SLG's really, really well known for it. You stick a sniper in his hand, they're pretty disgusting, but again, there is quite a lot of a home crowd territory during these, because they will know how. I mean, I've actually asked Pulse before and says, fair enough, we know the French community is growing. The French, and Harry mentioned it on Pro League last week, it's great when we got a French match. We all love seeing the French community get together, but the one thing that we will see Pulse do, and I says, do you practice between the French community? Do all guys just play together? He's like, no. He says, we play Fabi all the time, and which he's very, very good friends in Halo 3 with Respectful and stuff.
Yeah.
So he kind of knows how they play, but at the end of the day, if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And we're seeing these French rosters kind of come up, and any map that you kind of got a sniper on, they want to be getting their hands on that every single time. So I'd say look for anything with rifles and snipers, stick them in the back pocket, and away you go.
Alright, so I've been told the graphic is... Oh, actually it's ready. It's ready now. I was about to tell a lie. I believe the first map we're going to see, though, is Truth be picked. So you can see here, Stasis taken away, then Fathom, then Colosseum. And the first map we are going to be seeing is Truth here. A map that was banned out all of last series, so we didn't get to see it at all. But this time, straight off the rip.
That's quite interesting to see, because I was going to say there, both teams like the power weapons, but then on the flip side of that, maybe they want to try and take the power weapons out of the equation, so that they're relying on their teamwork and stuff. And that looks a little bit like what's happened in this. As you see, Stasis, obviously a big rocket map. But you look at Colosseum, rocket, sniper. Whereas on Truth, I know we've got the Fuel on there, but that's not as dominant as a weapon, where you can take over a map. And maybe that's exactly what we're seeing. We're saying one of the teams has decided, you know what, we're going to take the power weapons out of the equation, and we're going to work on our teamwork.
Yeah, get rid of the power weapons and just kind of go for the rifles. And you mentioned the fuel rod, and time again we've seen players just going off for the fuel rod. But it's mainly about car and P. Get a carbine, get a BR, get set up, and just rinse them. Lock them into the window and rinse them.
Well, I've been told we're going to look at map 2 now and see how that one goes down. As you guys can see, Colosseum taken out first of all, then Truth, then Rig, then Eden, then Regret, and we go into Plaza. Now, Sims, I think you found that interesting just by the noises you were making.
Yeah, you look at that, and we've got a sniper in play, and this is kind of what we mentioned. Fair enough. You're going to be banning out something like Eden, which also does have one. But yeah, we're going to, and obviously Rig as well. Sorry, excuse me. You want to look at that one. We've seen as we look across the two main maps for. We're coming into Truth again off the back of the initial one. Pulse are going to knock that one out and say, all right, we've done that, so we're going to knock that. But with the Plaza game, too many times we've seen Pulse Gaming really scare people on Plaza, because they'll come from behind, even when they're down. Time and time again, no matter what it is, Slayer, Strongholds, they'll be down on the map. They'll get themselves picked up, and they're a very slow starting team. So something like Plaza, I want to see them grab the sniper rifle, stop Talik, stop Solar, don't let them touch it, because if they do, it's game over from the start. They need to get the weapons, they need to keep control, and just play their game, play their end game a lot quicker, like they do at the start.
And one very interesting point about Plaza as well, you talk about Pulse and how they're very methodical in how they play. They're very, very restricted in when they go down in games. They won't start poking their heads out. They won't give the opportunity to the other team to just extend a lead and pick off headshots, and they will take their time. They'll be very methodical in their pushes. Then they will make one push, usually around the time that power up's going to come up. So that's quite a good map for Pulse, I think. But it I think a lot depends on those first 10-15 kills in that game, and who can get control of the sniper, and how the map actually plays out.
Okay, so as while you're kind of giving it one way, even to the team who didn't end up picking it, because it was going to be NTSC who picked it, you're saying, you know what, I don't think it's a bad map for Pulse.
I don't think Pulse will be too disappointed with that at all.
It's kind of interesting. So when this comes down to, like, well, this is how we dictate the game. But let's actually move on to game 3 then, and take a little look about how that one is actually coming down. You see Empire's taking out first of all, then you're going to have Plaza taken out, and the Rig, leaving us with Eden to play. On set, we'll start with you this time around. Who does this favour and why?
This, in my opinion, probably favours Pulse. I've seen, NTSC, thinking about it, I've just thought, I've changed my mind again. Sorry, like I did in my
I'm happy with this one.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, NTSC have put some really good performance up recently on Eden, especially on Strongholds game, so that's going to be quite interesting. I think Pulse don't have the best of records on this particular Strongholds game, if I'm correct, from what I can remember. So I think the way that's played out, that's definitely in the favour of NTSC. It's interesting to see that the Rig is getting vetoed quite a lot as well. It looks like both teams don't really want to play that.
Yeah, when we look at Eden as well, and this kind of comes, and a map like Stronghold, it really doesn't kind of, it doesn't favour Pulse Gaming, because the aggression that we see coming out of NTSC, it's pretty amazing. And they can go forward, they can just hit into it, they can launch it, rock and roll, and away we go. But also on the other side is too many times we've seen the rubber band effect where you've got 99 points, you're about to bag the win, and all of a sudden, oh dear, there's a triple capping effect from Pulse Gaming, and now we've just lost the game because we forgot about them. So don't count them out, and especially the game like Strongholds, it would definitely favour 100% NTSC. I agree with you, but Pulse been that slow started kind of team, it kind of could flip it.
It's so interesting at the moment. We're saying that it favours one team, but it's by like the width of the hairs that are left on my head. That is like how close these games are going to be. It is going to be like every game we're like, advantage. It's like it's not really an advantage. It's a very, very slight
slim
advantage.
chance.
Well, I like this. Like I said, this is pretty much how it should be, right? When you do vetoes, and we are going to move on to map 4 now. When you do vetoes, this is you should be taking away their best map or your worst map. So it should be in the middle ground. So both teams should have a good chance. But here's the next one. We've already played Truth. We're going to be taking out Fathom and Colosseum, or Collie for Sims, and it's going to be Stasis is going to be the game we're playing. Sims, I'll start with you.
Well, you got the Rockets back. They banned it out at the initial start, so the Rockets are going to be back in play. Obviously, you're getting rid of a sniper rifle again. These kind of weapons and these kind of maps that we saw at the start. You got Fathom and Colosseum, two very core game types. This will be the first time we've seen Stasis play out this week. It's still kind of, it's part of Pro League. It's in there. It's a map. It's a bloody good map and all. I enjoy it, but it's still one that I kind of feel people still are trying to find their feet just a little bit and get their tactics kind of nailed down to the ground. It can be quite messy, but so long as when you pull the flag one way, as long as your team, it's old school tactics. We're talking Sanctuary days, Shrine days. It's old tactics. If you're going to take it one way, as long as you've got people on the other side defending that and watching the kind of quick attack and even a cheeky poke underneath bottom mid, you're going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, watch out for cheeky pokes.
Cheeky pokes, key to that map, says Sims. Alright, let's move on to number 5 then, because the game could have ended there. It could have ended on map 4, but with how tight these two teams are, we're not thinking a 4-0. So here are the vetoes for map 5. Already played Plaza, then we're going to be taking out Eden, Colosseum, Truth, Rig, and we're going to be playing Regret. First time in this series.
This is quite interesting. Again, we see Colosseum has been vetoed out of it. So it looks like neither of the teams really want to play Colosseum, which is, for me, quite interesting because we talked about power weapons and how both teams like to use them. Maybe they're just sort of trying to counteract that by just taking those out of the equation. But again, we see the Rig taken out. So that's obviously a map that both of these teams might not want to play, which is interesting for the other teams who might be watching at the moment because they should probably look and pick up on that. Game 5 Regret, I've seen both of these teams win on this map. I've seen both of these teams steamroll on this map. So it's, again, I have to give the advantage actually to NTSC in this one, just from what we saw in the Open on last Sunday. Do you remember how good they were at collapsing in on bases? Every time they got a numerical advantage and they got the opposition trapped in a base, they would go on runs of 10-15 kills, almost without reply. So I'm going to give them the advantage in this one, which is, again, quite strange considering that looks like it was Pulse's veto. So interesting again. Very interesting.
I'd like to say that this one will go in the hands of Pulse, simply because when we're coming into this game 5, we're going to be drawn up 2 apiece. And I think this is where they start to think, we believe we can beat these guys. We're the number 1 French roster. And I honestly think the hype and the enjoyment of going to a game 5 and taking games from NTSC will be, right, we're warmed up now, we're ready to play. Let's do this, let's win the next 2 and knock them out.
Okay, so you're saying maybe this is the momentum shift.
Yeah.
A little bit of momentum shift. So let's find out for 6 then, if we do get all that way, and see how that one plays out. So Eden's already been taken. Plaza and Empire are going to be taken out this time around, and we're going to be playing the Rig on set. Are you agreeing with Sims' momentum shift?
It's quite possible. I mean, the game 5 could be a real momentum swinger in this whole series. It's a confidence thing. You get this far into the series, you expel so much energy. You get to this point, it's like, we're still behind, or we're ahead now. We can close this out. So this is a massive game. This is, for me, a deciding game. If we get here, whoever wins this game will probably win the series. If it's tied up here, the team that comes from behind will probably take game 7. But it's interesting to see the Rig being played now. It seems like both teams actually wanted to avoid that. Obviously, Empire seems to be pretty unpopular at the moment with both the teams, but we're finally on the Rig, so we'll see how these teams play it, because both of them don't seem too confident on this, so this looks like go either way.
Coin flip?
Yeah, I'm going to say coin flip.
Do you agree, Sims?
Yeah, again, this is another map where an individual player like Solo can just be given full reins of just go do what you want, mate, and have a nice day and enjoy yourself. We saw it with Anima before. It's a very quiet, there's a lot of open areas on this map, but there's also a lot of tight corridors, and you're very aggressive and very, I want to say, open and quite loose cannons are allowed to go off a little bit more. So you'll see them just hiding in the halls of the SMGs, grabbing the scatter shot, wandering around doing what you want. And fair enough, it's Strongholds, but with a player like Anima in previous, kind of Solo's on that same level. So Solo will just be bopping around. He'll be running at a stronghold point. He'll be grabbing it. He'll be slaying on the way. He'll just run to the next one. And that very aggressive and open freelance player will really shine in a game like the Rig Strongholds.
Okay, so you're kind of highlighting a few players there to kind of look this one down.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what Mark says. You definitely want to say, NTSC will win it, but both of them, Strongholds can be a little bit rubber band now and again, and these two teams are just so evenly matched.
Well, so now, all right, let's go on to 7 and the final map. If we get all the way here, we already had Plaza, we've already had Regret, so Eden, Rig, Colosseum are going to be taken out, and we're going on to Truth again.
It looks like Colosseum once again out of the equation.
Rip Collie. That's gone flying out of the window.
I think it's just because you called it Collie.
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason. They just don't want you to hear you say
already?
it. Yeah.
Are we blaming Sims?
Hashtag blame
Second
Sims.
series.
Let's not bring that hashtag back, boys.
Bring it back. Let's
It's not a hashtag, it's a way of life. But yeah, all right, so we're on Truth again here. And all right, we've come all this way. It's 3-3 coming into it. If we do get this far, who wins this? Who wins last map if he gets there?
Got a coin?
Pulse.
Oh, he's gone Pulse? You can't decide, obviously. You got a coin.
Oh, I can now that he's picked one. I just picked the opposite.
Oh, really?
It's very easy. Yeah, NTSC.
We'll
I'm going with NTSC. I want to see the upset. Second upset of the day.
I think being in Pro League and having that little bit of a more teamwork. Pulse have been together for a while now. They know how each of the players, and I generally think a map like Truth, especially on Slayer, you just, again, hold them rifles, drill a team into a base, and unless loose cannons like Solar Snack going off, it could be a detriment to that. That'll try and push out too much and get slayed on his own and give away needless deaths, which he has done in the past.
Very true.
As much a great player that he is, he has given away some stupid deaths before. And kind of in this map and this scenario, Game 7, I really think the level head and the focus of Pulse will shine through.
All right. Well, now I'm going to see if it's not just a Game 7. We're not talking Game 7. We're talking every game. I'm going to ask you to put your money where your mouth is. On set, you've already been wrong once, so have I. So you're in good company.
It's not surprising for me, is it, to be honest?
No, it's not. I might now have to go against you. Sims, I'm going to ask you just for the name of the team. We'll go over reasons in a bit.
I think NTSC will do it.
Okay. Do you agree, or are you just going to go against him?
My head says Pulse.
Right.
My heart says NTSC.
What does your mouth say? Because that's probably most important.
Go Pulse.
NTSC.
Right, I'm going to disagree with both of you.
No, Pulse.
Right, now I'm agreeing with Onset, and my days become significantly worse. So we've got Sims with NTSC, and me and Onset picking Pulse. I really don't feel good about my pick now.
I don't blame you.
It's the Onset curse. I was there last time that happened, where you got every prediction wrong.
Hey.
All right, let's go into the reasons why then. Sims, I'll start with you. You've gone for NTSC. And you hesitated for a second, not very long though, but you picked NTSC.
Yeah, I think, one, we've already seen what happened to Dinosaurs, so we know that these open circuit teams can, of course, beat a pro circuit team regardless. And this is what I said before, in no way should we treat them as amateur or any less. They are pro teams at the end of the day. I just think the aggression and the fast-paced starts, if it's not a detriment to them, so if they don't start doing really stupid things like running off on their own and giving away needless deaths or putting their team in a bad spawn point, then I think they'll come through. I think the aggression and the slow starts of Pulse will really, really affect them. However, again, it's on a knife edge here with these two. It's going to be a really, really, really damn good series.
For me, the reason I changed my mind so much is the most recent team I've watched is NTSC, and we were so impressed with how they played that it's very easy to forget how good Pulse have been in that last half of the season. It's very easy to overlook that. They were beating teams that they weren't even getting close to after that transfer period.
This is the team that's taken, obviously, maps off in the Pro League of FAB.
Well, yeah, now FAB.
And that says something. When you kind of the team that's taking maps off the number one team that's 10-0 in the league, it does show that it is possible.
Exactly. I think it's very easy to forget how good Pulse are. So for that reason, I'm sort of just bringing it back to a little bit more level-headed decision and going with Pulse.
Okay, I think that's quite interesting. And like, you're obviously just saying, kind of gone on past results. And Sims, you're quite confident in some of the players in NTSC. But all right, well, we've pretty much done everything we can do here to break this one down for you guys at home. What we are going to do now is throw it over to our casters to get this one underway. So it's Gaskin and it's Bravo. Over to you.
Thanks, Bryce. Here in the booth, Gaskin, pleasure to be here with you. I'm glad to be back in the UK. But the focus now, of course, goes to the French squads. Two really interesting teams. You heard the guys on the desk break them down just now, exactly what we can expect through the series. We have our game types, these two teams ready. We're going to be getting in the game in just a moment, but taking a look at the layout, do you tend to? I don't think the analysis desk had any sort of conclusion about what they think is actually going to happen in this next match. But looking across the layout, what are your thoughts?
I mean, true CTF to start things off. Pulse, it's actually their most vetoed map across the Pro League, so clearly they weren't very confident in it, but maybe they feel they can beat NTSC going into Slayer Plaza. Pulse have actually never vetoed Plaza Slayer. They've never vetoed Eden Strongholds, so they are very confident on those game types. Yeah. Stasis and Regret kind of in the mid-balance.
I'd say that's you and I were talking as it was coming up, but that Stasis selection is interesting because, first of all, usually Stasis is a veto we see early on, but for Fathom and Coliseum to be vetoed over Stasis is really interesting. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. But I also wonder myself, what causes these teams to be less confident on really your standard maps. Fathom and Coliseum CTF, they play pretty straightforward. So interesting that we're going to see Stasis for game number 4.
Yeah, and then going into those last 2 games as well, it's also Pulse's most vetoed Stronghold map is the Rig, and their most vetoed Slayer map is Truth. So Pulse are going to want to get this one finished nice and early. They are not going to want it to go to those games 6 and 7.
I was going to say, if they need to do it, you have to wonder, are they going to be able to pull off the key matches for them, of course, will be Stasis and Regret, right? Regardless of how they head in, maybe they win 2 of the first 3, they need to make sure they're closing it out on Stasis and Regret. Like you said, not getting towards those later matches here. Any player in particular that you're going to keep an eye on in this match who has the potential to turn the tides of the series?
To be honest, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Shady does. I mean, not only is this his first European competition, he's only 16 years old.
Right.
So this guy is still young. He's still full of just that fire and that aggression that you really want to see. So I'm expecting him to do a lot of big things. And then you've also got Nurix as well. He's actually a very experienced French player. Never really kind of delved into the European scene, but he's known very, very much through that French community. So I'm expecting big things from him as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to see these two teams duke it out. Of course, Pulse, you could say with what should be the upper hand in the series, but if we look at series number 1, that didn't really do much for Dinosaurs at the end of the day. So the first game, of course, is going to be CTF on Truth. Excited to see this. We didn't see Truth at all in the first series, so it'd be exciting to get into the match in just a moment. Here you're watching Pulse versus NTSC. This is winners bracket round 1 on Saturday Relegation. The 2 teams that win this double elimination best of 7 tournament will advance to the Fall Pro League. Now, when we're starting things off here with SLG, we're going to right away push out towards Red Bend and take a look across the map, try to make something happen here as he pushes in. But Shady's coming in hot with the sword, but he gets actually taken down there by a player there. As you see, that was going to be Punisher who takes him down.
What did I say? Shady just young and aggressive, instantly grabbing that sword, charging straight into them. But it does look like Pulse have kind of got the lead here. They are going to go for a flagpole. I do think this game is going to be a little bit back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised if we go the full 12 minutes, because I do think they are just so tightly contested, these 2 teams. But it's really going to come down to who can kind of control that carbine side more. I really do like to see teams get into that bubble just to control those spawns perfectly.
That's right. Now over to Solar. You hear both flags being reset, so he's going to try to make some big plays here with the assault rifle and able to pick up the brawler medal to close out top of Carbine. Yeah, I like where his team is right now, despite the fact they lost control of their base right there. They have a really nice setup, because when you have a player like Solar here who can rotate to top middle like that and get a double, I mean, he immediately shuts down that rush, right? And look at this. Right away, he's flying into his opponent's bend. So good stuff from Solar early on here to make that happen, as he also takes a look back across.
Interesting that no one has actually touched that fuel rod cannon as well. Clearly no one really confident picking it up and having it in their hands. Usually you'd see teams maybe go for it straight away, but perhaps they're just a little bit scared about pushing over to top mid, as we do see Shady take down SLG with the headshot as well. He will now try and support his teammate, pushing up to pink here. He's got support from Talek as well.
That's right.
Now we might see the battle of top mid.
Indeed. He's going to wait here, of course, not let his opponents know that he is there to help in pink 2 as well. So he's going to slow things down. So we'll go to third person just for a second to show you exactly what this map looks like. And he makes a top mid run. He's going to try to escape as well, and surprisingly able to do so. Holds off on the desperate desire to likely sprint there, and also gets away with the sword. So I have to say, Gaskin, pretty slow moments here. Rarely do you see a player who's able to make a top mid push to bottom and then sprint around like that. So we're seeing a pretty slow Truth CTF to start.
I think that shows the kind of player placement as well. It just seems like they're all over the place at the moment. Their positioning is a little bit sporadic. They're not really sure where they want to be pushing. They're just trying to survive, trying to get control of this map right now. I think once you get a clear definition of who is winning this game, then you'll start to see a more set-up process. On truth, Shady is going to push him with his sword, doesn't need it just yet. And now he will see if he can push into the base and try and pick up some kills here.
Yeah, and it looks like they were just a little bit separated, right there as he pushes in. He sees 2 of his teammates fall, so he's going to have to delay and pause just like this. And he comes out, early slice though, but takes down SLG and doesn't take any damage there. So a first good kill from him. He might be able to get a pull, but yes, indeed, also thrusts back. A nice play, but both flags are indeed out. So they're going to have to play this very carefully now. As you see, Shady actually might make a pull here. You're going to need to use the thrust to do it, and does. And might try to advance this as well. Starts to run this. We'll also give you a quick look at what's happening across the rest of the map as well. So you can keep an eye on both of those flags. They're almost in the exact same spot on the other side. We'll quickly swap over and go to teammate here, Nurix. We'll keep an eye on that flag, though, for you, as he is now up here trying to win a battle on Blue Ben, but it's not going to be easy. A lot of opponents on his screen, as you can see.
Yeah, I really think in this standoff, you're going to be wanting to look at your aggressive players. I mean, I know that Solar and Shady, all season in the open circuit, they've been kind of partnering up very aggressive.
Good flag spot there, though, right? Able to toss those nades out, excuse me, and that's going to lead to the spot and eventually the drop. But 2 players there coming out, so we'll stay on this death screen for a second just to see what happens. And it looks like that flag is going to go in as well. So now back over to Talik on this side, who might need to get a quick touch just to keep that flag alive. But first, he's going to try to win a battle here at Pink. He's going to be pushing out, but going to see if he can win this battle. Of course, if he does, it would allow them to get significant control. But he's juked, it looks like, by a player who likely went up to Pink 3. Let's see exactly. No, it's going to be a Pink 1 play. So back over to first person. Now pushing in with that AR, but Punisher actually gets the better of him, so we'll go over to Punisher here on the on the Pulse Gaming side.
And what I've kind of noticed from this NTSC squad is, yes, you've got Solar and Shady who are very aggressive together. On the other side, you've got Talik and Nurix who kind of play this classic Halo feel. They like to rotate together, just put supporting shots across the map, and that really helps support the rest of the team. And it just seems like a nice, solid 4, but now we are in this constant standoff, and I just want to see one team just take that risk.
And it really is a standoff, right? You just heard that in the audio cues. One flag carrier spotted, and immediately after, another flag carrier spotted. So it feels like they're not only neck and neck on the scoreboard and in terms of the standoff, but even their own movements as a team, right? They're spotting each other's flag carriers at the exact same time. So, Solar tried to stop that camo grab, but let's see. Looks like SLG will be taken down. So if I had to guess based on where everyone is, this will likely be a little bit of a slowdown. Standoff will continue, but it looks like we do have Shady alive in the bottom of the base, so they'll have to play very slow once again. Look at that flag is not in a good spot. Shady might be able to... No! And the flag does return. Yes, indeed, and that first flag is going to go in.
Yeah, NTSC just getting a little bit aggressive, and Pulse did try. They went for that camo. SLG was taken down, though, and they're the kind of players you want to be looking at. You want to be looking at SLG. You want to be looking at Talik. They're your captains. They're going to be making the calls.
And I have to say, it really cost them, right? They left the flag up on that sneaky, and if they had actually dropped it into the base, I don't think that would have even been a threat, right? They would have been able to get the kill, and then that flag actually, in the end, it returned on time. You saw that he got it enough down that that flag actually returned on time. They weren't able to get a touch, and that's a really big return there, and you have to wonder, that's a pretty poor drop location there up on Red Sneaky, so they're going to have to slow it down. Both flags are now reset, so SLG and Cali trying to make something happen here on the Pink side, but actually Cali's going to be a player to reset, and we'll go ahead and switch over to another player here. It's going to be Fragger, who's trying to make on board with him for the first time, trying to make something happen here on the car side as he pushes out.
I'm not surprised we're seeing SLG and Cali pushing around together as well. I mean, they teamed together at the HWC EMEA finals. These guys know exactly what they want to do, and they kind of just seem like they're attached by the hip, as SLG is now in this kind of P2 position. That fuel rod cannon is still there, Bravo. It's been there pretty much the whole game. It just keeps coming up, and people are just leaving it.
I was going to say, I have to see time and time again, we're seeing, actually, as we now go over to Solar, who is top middle, we're seeing players who actually have decent control of top middle, but they'll actually go ahead and scoot their way right past, and it seems like they're more focused on getting those first shots and spotting their opponents, right, than actually grabbing that fuel rod, because, of course, it's effective in only certain situations on this map, and what that has to mean is just looks like, I think Solar thought he had to go for the ninja there, but instead I believe there was a player above him. But look at this push here from the crew here, as they look pretty darn good cleaning up these kills. But I think shots were coming in maybe from the Pink side, so a little bit of confusion on both sides as the red flag was pulled.
I'm not entirely surprised either that there's not really much setup and a lot of individual battles, because these teams are just filled of really good individual players. They have a lot of talent, very raw aim, very good, very aggressive.
Yep.
So I was expecting this kind of back and forth as a second flag does go in, and it does look like our Pro League teams are struggling here this weekend.
Yes, indeed. NTSC up 2-0, but finally we see a fuel rod grab from Talek, who will try to make some bold plays. Of course, once you get the fuel rod into the base, you could do some real damage with it.
Yeah, he can either just stay on the defensive or go on the aggressive like he is now. He is actually going to try and take this flag out, but he will get punished for that.
Probably
Maybe would have liked to see him just stay up for a little bit.
Exactly. Probably a little bit premature in that. He didn't need to rush that necessarily. It looks like SLG is going to get that return without a problem. He's going to keep the fuel rod in his base, and it looks like Shady trying to once again. Shady loves that sprint swordplay, man. Comes at you like an infection player, full sprint, only one thing on his mind as he pulls that out. But staying on board here with SLG, who's making his way up to Red Street. And once again, we're finally seeing the fuel rod put to use. But once again, only specific scenarios where you can get away with that. A good double kill, though, from SLG as he pushes in and wants to get his team on the board here. There's 4:33 left, so plenty of time on Truth to get 2 flag caps. That can't be said necessarily for Coliseum, and even in some cases Fathom. However, on Truth, you can absolutely back-to-back double cap if you connect the dots.
Yeah, you can. If you want to get into that situation, this is the man you want to be looking at. He's going to be calling the shots. He's going to be making the plays. When he's practiced, probably one of the best French players around, but he has struggled this season with practice. He made that known, and he has kind of been one of those players that we've expected a little bit more from.
Right, you have to, right there trying to land some tricky storm rifle shots. Are not going to be easy at that range and that speed. Perhaps wondering if some Magnum shots might have benefited his team better, but I stand corrected just as I say that. Picks up a double as well as lands some excellent shots into Cali, who's under the base. Cali, however, answers back with an equal effort, doing very well to stay alive at the bottom of the base, but it looks like we might have another NTSC collapse again. Punisher immediately taken down as well.
Well, just look at how Solar and Shady are literally just pincering this base. Solar will look for the triple, actually does get the triple kill onto SLG, looks across for the overkill, but no one is going to be there to pick up. But Solar and Shady doing absolute work, just being absolutely aggressive animals at the moment.
Yeah, I tell you what, he looks confident, he looks calm, right? Those are some well-played shots. That's not frantic play. He's actually just pushing exactly where he needs to and firing players just like that off of top middle to take down those. So it looks like a flag is being ran, so we'll go ahead and see exactly who that flag might be in the hands of there. It looks like it's being dragged across, and they're going to try to slow this down. Flag is still there, and it looks like we do have a player who is going for the return, and I do believe they're going to be able to get it. Yes, indeed. So both flags are back at home as we go over to Talek, who has the sword in hand, and now 3 minutes left. So not a lot of time for Pulse Gaming to make something happen here, but still possible. Doesn't help there with Talek, missing that right there, but he's going to stay alive. Not too bad. I wasn't sure if there was an assassination that was going to come his way. There isn't a player behind him, and I believe that was going to be SLG, so we'll go over to SLG. No, SLG actually does fall, so does Punisher. So now Cali with the camo needs to make the play here.
Yeah, he does. He will get the assassination. Needs to try and get this return now before he is spotted. It does look like he will be able to do that. Really important play. Keeps Pulse alive in this game, but I think at the moment NTSC just have all the rifles. They've been getting the sword. They've been getting the fuel rod. Pulse really need to find a battle rifle, a carbine, just to try and get back into this game.
Yeah, they really do. As we see that, you have to wonder, is he just delaying what is inevitable there, as we're still seeing some really good control from NTSC even after that flag stop. Now Nurik's doing some good work here, and Pink 2 does wise to stay alive, but eventually he will be cleaned up there by Punisher. So now over to Punisher on the other side of the map. BR in hand, he can support his team, but not that many shots in the clip, so he's going to need to move quick here and switch to that AR quite soon, as he's going to make some aggressive plays. There you hear the 2-minute, oh no, the 2-minute warning, but he's shut down by Solar, who did really well to sit in that front corner of the base for a second. It looked like they might have had a pull set up, but that would not be the case, as he does get that clip as well. So Solar now on NTSC is sitting pretty, but just as I say that, once again, corrected, as we'll now go over to the Nurik side. No, he falls, so over to Shady here, rocking the Optic Gaming AR as well. Lots of Optic fans in Europe, would you say?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Optic fans everywhere.
Globally, huh?
I mean, globally.
Phenomenon.
It is a phenomenon, and we really, next weekend, we want to see Optic stay in the Pro League, but we never will. Anyway, we are in EU Halo, and Pulse do need to do something very, very quickly if they want to get back into this game. Sometimes when you hear that 2-minute warning, you begin to panic. You begin to be pushing off your spawn a little bit.
Well, you have to hope that that's the result, right? If you're Pulse Gaming, you hope they start to panic in some fashion if they haven't been already. Now only 1 minute left. We were talking about how fast you can cap. Oh my! It looks like SLG doing really well to try to shut down Solar there, but We talked about how fast you can cap flags on Truth, but under a minute, that's a little bit harder, especially when you're looking at a team like NTSC.
Yeah, and I now see why no one's been picking up that Fuel Rod cannon as well. It's just shots fired everywhere, and everything was missed. As Solar is taking down top mid as well now. We'll go on board with Shady. He's just going to put shots across in this flag. And NTSC, all they need to do now is just sit back and just slay.
Punisher, I don't think he's going to be able to make something happen here. The answer is no. Callie across the map, though, is laying down those shots, so we'll have to see. Fragger is the player who's trying to get the touch still. There's 33 seconds, so they would have to run this and immediately run the second there. 30 seconds left, as you hear. I'm taking a look at this desk screen to see if anyone is remotely in position. Callie is off the spawn, so we'll go to him. He has teammates around. 22 seconds left. They would need to get this pull right about now if they wanted to make this happen, because there's a full pull coming in. But Pulse Gaming does put one on the board. However, look likely too little, too late. Only 12 seconds left. We'll go to third person to show you where this team makeup is. I do believe they do get that pull. We'll have to see if it's going to be out. And now back on board with Callie, who needs to stay alive as well here, as that flag at time is going to tick down here, and that will be it. NTSC closes out that game 2-1 there with a pretty easy victory, with the exception of those last few seconds on that last flag run. But Gaskin, let's take a look at these stats. 28 kills for Solar.
Yeah, I mean, he was just doing absolutely everything, along with Shady as well. They were both just pushing in either side of the base and just supporting each other well. And then Nurex and Talik just doing a fantastic job together, working together, putting shots across and just rotating around the map accordingly. Pulse did put up a pretty good fight. I mean, 25 kills from Punisher, 24 from SLG. That's what we'd be kind of expecting. But 14 kills from Fragger, actually. That's not something we're used to throughout Pro League. He's very, very strong Slayer. So clearly not a good game, but that was Pulse's most vetoed capture the flag map throughout the season. So I was kind of expecting NTSC to win that one.
That's a great point. Yeah, we can't count them out just yet, really, of this series, as like you said, we don't really expect a Pulse win there. However, moving into these next set of games, this is really where their wheelhouse begins. Looking at the series layout, it's going to be Slayer, Plaza, Strongholds, Eden, and CTF Stasis. Certainly games that they could take. However, NTSC is going to be looking to shut them down there. But any key moments for you in that match?
I mean, just the control of the sword and having the carbines, the battle rifles, just seemed like NTSC had absolutely everything. And Pulse were trying to get control of the map, but they were just really struggling. They seemed to be a bit spread out. They weren't pushing in pairs enough, whereas NTSC always had a certain map locked down. Mainly kind of Talik and Nurex, just with that rotation.
One thing I also saw on the Pulse side, it felt like they were sending a good amount of players to the right areas. However, I think one of the last flag runs is a good example. It felt like they were 1 second behind each other. Right? They didn't have that exact teamwork, that exact coordination. Eventually, Punisher would be the third man, and he would get the kills cleaned up. However, it wouldn't be enough for him to escort that flag all the way back home. So what I'd like to see from Pulse as well, a little more composure and togetherness as they push across the map in those moments.
I think a big thing for NTSC is what we saw throughout the last few weeks of Open. Once they did form, very momentum-based team. Once they would win that first game, you would often see them go on to win 2-3-0.
Right.
But these are now two maps for Pulse that they've never vetoed in Pro League. We haven't really seen them play them because other teams were vetoing them against them. So perhaps this is their strong game types. This is the turnaround for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, like you said, if NTSC's momentum can carry them even through the next 2-3 matches, they'll of course close out the series. But if they're able to squeeze out 1 or 2 wins here and send this to the later part of the series, like you and I talked about, could be disastrous for Pulse. So if you're NTSC, you want to keep that momentum going and really try to steal as many of these games as possible. However, as I say that, Pulse has to remember that they have their backs against the wall now, right? These are the games that, if you look at the series, they're almost must-win games coming up for them. Like we said, they don't want to go towards that second half of the series. If they can get away with it, of course, they'd prefer to win the next 4 straight, but it won't be easy because NTSC had some really good energy in that game number 1. What are you expecting to see on Plaza Slayer?
Well, we've seen a lot of individual battles happen, and in Plaza Slayer it can get very messy if you do allow that to kind of be the way that the game is going to unfold. I think it's just going to be whose shot is on, and at the moment NTSC look a lot more warmed up. They look a lot more confident in their shot, especially Shady was performing really well, Solar as well. On the other side, we saw Fragger not performing too well, so I'm going to be a bit concerned. I want to watch him a lot this game, actually, to see if he can step things up, bring his team back into this one.
Yeah, that'll be the question. Of course, Slayer on Plaza, I mentioned it last series, one of my favorite game types to play and watch. So different from really any other map with the way that it's played and different kind of setups you can have, as well as routes that players can take. And last time we saw Enema in the last series just totally taking advantage of being sneaky, right, and moving across the map in certain ways. So we're going to have to see if that plays off again, but we're going to go ahead and start things off here with Solar on the NTSC side. He's going to go straight for top mid. Excuse me, no, actually takes an about face, and he might fall early as well. He hasn't been cleaned up just yet, but yes, I believe that overshield, I think, is already going to be picked up. We'll see. It looks like Callie here is going to have sniper rifle as well. So we'll stay on board with the sniper rifle for now. Go to third person for a second just to give you an idea of what he's seeing on the other side of the map. As they just totally collapse on Cafe. I have to say, that's what you want to see from Pulse, right? Is that quickness, because we've talked about the Pro League teams need to play as fast as these top open circuit teams. But look at this. He runs into 2 ARs. My goodness, what a strategy as they wait there hiding on the stairs and they take down the sniper player. But keep in mind, that's the first kill for NTSC.
Yeah, a better strategy. I mean, their opening strategy just was a bit strange. We thought he was going to push onto top mid, go straight for the overshield.
But
he was punished by a grenade. And
looked like he got I think grenaded and then shot by at least 3 different players. So that didn't go as he had planned. But looks like Solar is taken down. So over to Shady here. He's trying to make something happen around the stairs and might try to clean this up. Yes, indeed. That's going to be a big kill to slowly help them creep back up on the scoreboard. They're down 3-8. But a great pre-nade there on Punisher. He tries to take him down. He's also going to peek around the corner to see a Punisher. Oh, it's actually Fragger, who also had weak shields there. Excuse me. I'm going to try to make something happen bottom middle. And there's Punisher. Oh, my goodness. Lays down that perfect. So 5-9. So Shady doing what he needs to do to keep his team in the game.
Yeah, there's those individual battles that I was expecting. And just the shot is on for NTSC. And if they can get the sniper in the hands of Talek, arguably one of the best snipers in France, then I think NTSC will be able to come back into this one.
SLG gets away with that, if you ask me. I don't think SLG necessarily should have stayed alive there from just an opponent's perspective. That player should have been called out, right? But SLG doesn't know about. Oh my goodness! And now he's going to do this with the sniper rifle. 14-7. Pulse and SLG putting on a very different show and telling a very different story in game number 2. If you're just joining us, this is Winner's Bracket Round 1 of Relegation Saturday here in the Halo Championship Series Europe. We're finding out which teams will be promoted or will stay here, or demoted in terms of the fall season. They'll be playing for the next few months. Well, there's only 6 spots here, and these 2 teams are fighting for 2 of them. The top 2 teams in this double elim best of 7 will advance, and you're watching game 2 here as Pulse leads NTSC 16-7 in the Slayer match.
Yeah, the overshield has just popped up. It does look like NTSC did get hold of it as well in the hands of Solar, but he is going to be hunted down by the members of Pulse. Not sure if he has survived yet. I can't quite see, but SLG still had that sniper up there on S3.
Just as I show you there, he is taken down, but it looks like Shady and SLG will trade, so that sniper will be down. So let's see exactly where that might go. I'm going to go to third person just a second to keep an eye on where that last sniper rifle might have dropped. We're going to keep an eye. Actually, might be Punisher who gets the new one, as well as possibly the old one. I did not get an exact read on that ammo count, but it looks like Talek and Punisher will find each other.
What I noticed from NTSC as well, they really slowed that game down. They knew they were like 8 or 9 kills behind. They said, look, the overshield's coming up in about 10-15 seconds. Let's just be very patient. And then that's when they pushed out, as Fragger is caught off guard. So he needs to just back off here, as he will be taken down as shots do come across from that cafe. But the grenade does find him.
And it kills the barrel. I had to wonder, he didn't take the time to destroy that barrel before jumping up there. And generally it's not a prerequisite. You don't have to do it every single time, but actually the barrel explosion has the splash damage over that ledge to take him down. So he will fall, and it looks like they'll still be down 15-21 here, NTSC. So once again, Pulse Gaming keeping it up, but just as I say that, what a kill there. It's now 17-21, 18-21, now a 3-kill game, just like that. NTSC is back in it.
Yeah, Shady doing some absolute work with that sniper there, and I loved how Talek just sprinted across, finished off a one-shot. He said, look, I will help you. They were both backing each other up perfectly. This is the NTSC I was expecting, just so individually talented, so on form with each other. It seems like some of these players are just attached by the hip, especially kind of Shady and Solar. That you usually see them running as a pair, as we can see on my screen now. Solar just in that vicinity of Shady, as Shady is now trying to find
zooming
these heads.
out every second that he should just keep it there for one more moment. But of course, that's the joy of seeing this in spectator mode, to know exactly what the enemy team is doing. Of course, Shady just 1 second too late each time. But now taking a look at the score, 21-21. NTSC has climbed back. My goodness, they're picking up the hat trick. But this is the same thing that we saw right in the last series, right? You have to play strong throughout the entire game, as we'll now go over to Nurex actually falls as well. So over to Talek, who off the spawn in Cafe is going to go ahead and this thrust slide his way across back over to Plaza and Yard, and now over to Glass.
Sometimes you will see within inexperienced teams on this map, when they are like maybe 8 or 9 kills down, they'll continue to just push aggressively. They won't take that time to be patient and try and regain control of the map, as another snipe kill comes in again for NTSC. But this NTSC lineup, they know what they're doing. They're being very patient. They were 9 kills behind. They waited for that overshield, and they'll know when that is coming up as well. So they know what they're doing. 4 kills down now, but they have lost that sniper.
I think Solar knows he has a player just above him, so we'll stay on board with him for just a second. He's going to try to stabilize up there, but they're going to likely know each other are there now, so he has to play this a little bit differently. It doesn't help that there was a yard push coming in. That's actually going to be Punisher. Now over to him, who's trying to stay alive with the SMG, but he will be annihilated there by Shady. And as you see, I believe that was Nurix there on your screen. So now over to Nurix, who stays alive in the yards, 24-28 here. NTSC is down by 4. So Pulse answering back with a few clutch kills to make sure they maintain a slight lead here. And they looks like now 30-25. So they make it a 5-kill lead here. 6:42 left in the match.
Yeah, NTSC slowing things down again, waiting for that next overshield to come up. Good grenades from Nurix. He got the hit marker, so we knew someone was there. Couldn't finish him off, unfortunately, but now what I want to see from Pulse is they know that they're kind of locked in this yard. They just need to get aggressive and try and start pinching him. They don't want to give them the time to wait for that overshield to come up.
Yeah, exactly. They want to make one really good push here before that OV drops and make sure that it counts. At least get themselves out, even if it means sacrificing 2 or 3 kills, that they just get all the way out here, finding a player in yard. Oh, I don't think they actually cleaned up SLG, did they? We'll go over to him. Actually, no, excuse me. Will be, yes, SLG stays alive here. So they're going to be 33-26, and he also cleans up that kill. So with so many pivotal moments like that, Gaskin, where a player should have been taken down and doesn't, and then that player goes on to create a lot more trouble for their opponents. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from SLG, and Pulse definitely answering back here in this match, despite being tied on the 21 mark.
And that's kind of been the story of the Pro League in general, just players being a nuisance, doing things to annoy other teams, getting behind them, a lot of flanking. We didn't see it so much in Halo 4, but now, similar to Halo 3, you find these players that do just like to flank. They do like to just be a nuisance. So it's really good to see these playstyles develop.
Yeah, and of course in Halo 5, if you are crafty with your Spartan abilities and your movement, you can be super, super sneaky as well as strategic in your movements. Of course, quite a skill gap. I should know because I get embarrassed by players who are far more better than I quite often. So I consider myself an expert in the field here. 38-32 is the score. 5 minutes left. 7 kill difference now. SLG still with the sniper for Pulse Gaming, and they have certainly answered back here. There was a moment where we thought NTSC was going to run away with it. We saw in the first series teams blowing leads left and right. However, now 40-33 is the score. If they keep playing this game, they'll be able to close it out.
Yeah, I really think the key to winning this game for NTSC is having that sniper in their hands. So even though SLG might not be hitting every shot right now, just keeping it out of the hands. As I say that, he hits another shot onto Shady. That is now an 8-kill lead. They just need to be calm now, just trade kind of 1-for-1.
I thought he was going to do it again. Yeah, you're right. The trading is fine for them. They're up by 10. So look, he just goes around these corners, right? Ready to zoom in at any point. It feels like he's quickscoping just about everything that moves. He's watching glass. Let's see if he'll tee this up. Looks like his opponent is thinking about popping out, but oh my gosh, and yes indeed, Nurix tried to be very tactical in the way he poked around that glass. However, it wasn't too graceful at all as he gets his face ripped off. 46-36 is the score, and SLG is putting on a show with the sniper, taking down anything that moves. You see there's several opponents around here. He might be able to find, it looks like Shady there, not just yet. So I'll give you a quick look at where his opponents are. Now back to first person. Looks like surprisingly missing the first, connecting with the second. 47-36 is the score. This is almost over, Gaskin.
Yeah, just the 2 more kills needed, and we can see why Pulse never vetoed this map. Just 1 more kill now, and this is fantastic work. You saw how confident SLG was, just pushing around the map with the sniper as if it was just a normal rifle in his hand.
That's it. Now taking a look at the score here as well. 15 kills for SLG and 3 deaths. Look at that performance. We really didn't get on board with him until the later part of that match when he had that sniper rifle. But, just take a look at how different that first player, SLG, his column looks to everyone else in the game, right? You have 15-3. The next closest deaths, to put that into perspective, is Cali with 9, which is 3 times the amount that he had. So SLG far and away stealing that game. He is the difference maker, right? They win that game right there by 12. However, he gets, 14-3 there with his kills, 15 assists, leading that game as well. Leading in the assist category as well. The only player to even hit double-digit assists. So it was the SLG show. That's really all there is to say about that.
And he was just given the opportunity to do that, really. He was given the sniper. He had the sniper like 3 times, and he just sat back and he just finished things off. On the other side, if Talik was able to get that sniper, I would have seen him doing exactly the same thing. So fantastic from Pulse to kind of get into that position where they could keep the sniper out of NTSC. It was very key for them. And yeah, I touched on it earlier in the game. It's very clear why they weren't vetoing that.
Yeah, exactly. They knew exactly how to. It feels like that was like the textbook way that you want to play Plaza. It's also a very exciting way to play, right? You're consistent. that he was coming around every corner, sniper rifle out, whether he was bottom mid, whether he was in cafe going to yard. Didn't matter where he was on the map. He was connecting with those shots. And we also have to point out that I believe he got that sniper rifle on a flank as well, is when he first picked it up. But of course, got to give credits to his entire team as well, because the only way that he can rotate and move like that, you don't put on a 15-3 performance if your team isn't watching your back in such a way.
Well, that's the thing. He's so confident in his teammates
I
that
keep saying
wherever he
15-3,
pushes.
14-3.
14-3. He had
15-3, yes. Even more
He just
impressive.
did a lot of things. He had a lot of stats, and he just played fine. This is what I was saying about SLG beforehand. When he's practiced, one of the best players in France. He struggled a little bit throughout Pro League, but there is Season 2. So this is where they're looking. They looked very strong towards the end of the season, actually. They were putting some good performances in. Even against Fabi, they took 2 maps off them. No team at finals this weekend have taken any maps off Fabi, so that says a lot about this Pulse lineup.
Certainly, yeah, and you can expect that they're going to be trying to take that experience and now the momentum from game number 2 throughout the rest of the series. This is one of the games you had them winning. I believe Eden Strongholds is the same, right? They have not vetoed the game type, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that is correct. So I'm expecting big things again. I mean, even Strongholds in general, we've not seen very much of it across Pro League. It seems to be a bit of a favourite for people to veto.
Right.
Not entirely sure why. Maybe they think it's a little bit random. Maybe they're not happy with how they set up on it. It's not easy to set up. It can be a bit more rotation based.
Certainly, yeah, especially to see Eden Strongholds and then Stasis CTF. You're seeing some of the more vetoed game types now appear in games number 3 and 4. So it'll be interesting to see, because this will, of course, determine really where this series goes. If one team is able to win 2, they'll be 1 game away. But if we trade, we'll still be tied here as we move across. So these 2 lesser played game types potentially able to determine exactly what is going to happen here. But Eden Strongholds will be up next. We're going to get into that match in just a bit. The question is, will we see a player like SLG put on a similar performance in this game type? I think Strongholds, provides an opportunity for you to do some pretty wild slaying as well. He could certainly do it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Pulse need to win this one. Looking at the rest of the games as well, Stasis, I think, could go either way. Regret Slayer could go either way. And then those last 2 game types, as we said earlier, they're not really great game types for Pulse. So I feel that this is a must-win. It will shift that momentum from NTSC as well, and maybe just derail their confidence a little bit.
Yeah, that's indeed the case. So look for Pulse to certainly treat this game as a do-or-die scenario if they want to continue the momentum and get into the rest of the series, because it'll be much easier said than done if they want to close it out in 6 or 7 games. But I have to say, both teams look pretty strong. You saw NTSC, that 2-1 on the scoreboard really didn't tell the actual story of that CTF. I mean, NTSC played it really, really well. That last flag cap it looked like something they just let go, because it was not going to be possible for the enemy team to really get that run going here. But we'll go ahead and start things off here in just a moment with, I believe, SLG on the other side, if we can. Yes, indeed, we'll go and start with him from Pulse. He and his entire team need to put on a very similar performance if they want to make something happen here. So let's go ahead and kick things off now with SLG from Pulse Gaming as he pushes out here towards Red Cat, and of course going to try to make his way over to that camo. Immediately finds Nurex, however, takes that grenade, but I do believe, yes indeed, he's going to be able to sneak away with camo, so a good start for them.
Yeah, that's exactly what SLG's been doing this whole series, just pushing for those power-ups, pushing for those power weapons, doing the important things for his team. This guy's been playing since he was 8 years old on Halo CE. He knows Halo in and out. Yeah, he's been around for a long time, so he's the kind of deal breaker for this team. If he's on fire, they're probably going to win, and now he just needs to use this camo effectively. Maybe just hide into one of these strongholds, make sure he can capture it, and not just do too much yet.
And I'm glad to see that they're maintaining control on Catwalk. Just as I say that, there is some. Oh my gosh, takes down Talik, I believe, who had the rockets. So they're going to get that early control, and I think they're going to need to try to shut down this Catwalk grab, because the one thing that is really detrimental to sides is when your camo player steals a stronghold just like this, and then moves to the next one, and you're losing them, right? You're losing them one by one that you've just captured. You need to make sure your camo player is really on the same page as the rest of your squad. Otherwise, you're going to get very minimal score and very minimal time from these strongholds that your camo player used valuable time to collect.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking at Talik and Norix to kind of be the rotation players on this map. They were doing it a lot throughout Truth. So I'd be expecting those two to be sticking together as a pair, rotating around this map, taking strongholds together. But Talik is currently fighting alone. He did take out Kali, but then SLG comes in to shut him down as well, as now Shady is just kind of stuck in this blue base right now.
Yeah, he's going to have to try to push out, but you can bet right away. I mean, right off the bat, Kali puts on pressure, so Shady is likely going to get pushed here as well. He tries to throw desperate grenades and somehow gets away with 1 assist, but I think finally, oh my goodness, Shady is just being, what a nuisance here as he stays alive throughout this. Punisher, as you know, frustrated frustrated. Let's see if Shady's able to win this. What a mental win that is over Punisher. So frustrating. Punisher was trying to finish that one-shot kill for a good maybe 9-10 seconds, unable to do so. But now we'll go over to Solar. Solar, will die as well. So over to Nurix. But man, what a victory there. That's got to get in Punisher's head.
Oh, definitely. Those 1v1 battles now, every time he sees him, he's going to be thinking, oh, he better not get away. He might be even thinking he should have died. But no, he just couldn't finish off that kill. Great movement from Shady. And like I said earlier, 16 years old. A lot of passion. He has a lot of time to practice as well. So I'd be expecting some big stats from him. And now we do see 2 strongholds in the control of NTSC. They might find their way back into this game.
Yeah, we'll go ahead now over to Fragger here. He's up now 23-10, but like you said, finally some points going on the other side. So he's going to look around the corner to see if he gets any hit markers with the AR. No hit markers with the grenade either, which will mean that he'll have to refocus his efforts elsewhere. If he can clean up this kill on Talik and stay... Oh my goodness, I thought we were going to see a nice juke there, but it's actually Solar who has the camo. So we're going to go over to Solar here as he's going to try to get his team back into this match. They do get Blue Ben there, which will help. Looks like they don't see each other just yet. And no, Callie actually gets the better of that. So now we'll go over to Callie, who has the first Brute Plasma Rifle that I've seen all day.
Yeah, a very important kill there as well. He must have just seen like a little glimmer coming off of that camo as he will be pushed now. And that's what NTSC do. They just push so well as twos. And now we will be expecting them to take this red nest. They need to be careful from grenades though. It does look like he's also got a Brute Plasma Rifle in his back garden. In his back garden? He might have one in his back garden, but he's got one in his back pocket as well.
Blue team.
Now look at this total control here, 27-29-26, as they're going to continue to rack up points here. So NTSC finally getting the control that they have wanted for these past few minutes. We're over 3 minutes into the match, and they're now going to start racking up points. But just like that, looks like they might lose Nest in just a second. Yes, they lose Red Nest. Let's see if anything else is under contention. Looks like that's not the case. They will remain control of Catwalk as well as the Ben on the other side.
Solid shots coming out from Nuix as well, and just finishing off Punisher. And it was fine that they lost Nest because they knew exactly where this pulse lineup were. They pushed there. They've got total control again. They also could reset Catwalk here. If Talik just pushes in, he does. This is looking really strong for NTSC, and now they know where the whole of Pulse are. They're over at that blue bend, and it's going to be one of these games, I think, where Pulse are going to be fighting for their lives to try and get back into it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be. I mean, they're playing Strongholds the exact way. It looks like Punisher trying to do something, and I think I even heard a ground pound getting teed up somewhere, but that was canceled. But SLG now coming in with presumably what will be nice shots. Yes, indeed. Now over to SLG on that outside flank. He also picks up the Spanker, so the total control here still against his squad. They're going to try to get Nest as quickly as they can, but like you said, Strongholds is a game type, right, that you can... Oh my, and I believe that is going to be a burn of the OS right there, so that's now going to be, it looks like 26-65. This and picks up that as well, my goodness. So 65-28 is the score, but they're slowing it down. This is what we needed them to do, right? Because Strongholds is a game type that you can just totally train on your opponent. If you play one step ahead of your opponent, there's no way they can catch up. However, if you're a Pulse fan, it's good to see them now putting points on the board.
Yeah, it is, and it's that man, SLG again, just picking up that rocket launcher, just doing some work. He got some very important kills, actually. Just allowed his team to get a little bit more control of this map. Good positioning from Fragger here. I like this position, just looking over to Catwalk. He can keep an eye on Nest as well. And I'd be happy if they want to just stick and control these two, and they'll keep check of this NTSC team spawning over at blue.
And looks like it even might land. Oh, wow. I mean, great shots there to also get help there and just juke around. It looks like I think Solar thought he was going to swing in for an easy SMG kill, but that was not the case. So very quickly, this game has changed now. 42-65. They still have control. They are getting back into this match, and actually, Fragger is going to find Solar again off the break as the first player that he engages with. Oh, but you have to bet that those are some good shots from Solar. So we'll go over to him as he was able to win what was essentially a 1v2 battle here from this tower stairs. So able to lock that down. And, good signs of life here, of course, from NTSC. They had the lead on the scoreboard, but and now finally, just as I say that, they also get, and just as I say that, they also lose Blue Bend. So we're back to Red Team Pulse scoring.
Yeah, there's two very different playstyles. I think Pulse are more than happy to set up, just have the two strongholds. However, when NTSC have that control, they want to rotate as a team, they want to be pushing, they want to be getting total control. But at the moment, it looks like Pulse have kind of figured out NTSC's game plan. They said, look, they're just rotating as 3s and 2s. If we set up in the right positions, if we make enough cross angles for these firing, then we'll be able to take them down individually.
And what a heads-up play there to identify that during the game, right? Oftentimes, it's too late. Once you're midway through a stronghold and you're going up against a total control, it's far too late to change that playstyle and identify moments like that, as Neurix will pick up that rocket kill. And now it's a 71-58 game, so still anyone's match, but a really heads-up play from them to be able to slow it down. And just like that, it is going to be total control here on this side as they're going to climb back very quickly on the scoreboard.
Yeah, look how scared Nurix is to push out because he has those rocket launchers. It was a very different position when SLG had the rocket launchers. He was making plays with them, and Nurix needs to do something very similar now.
If I'm not mistaken, there might still be someone behind him in tower. I'm going to check really quick. Yes, indeed, he's right there, and I don't think they know that he's right there. And it's actually going to be Callie who's making some plays there and trying to take down the player with the rockets, but looks like he will reset. Blue team will maintain the lead here. That's NTSC 74-71. That was scary. I thought we were going to see a double backline. I don't actually know how that didn't happen. And look, Callie's still there, and my gosh, they cannot find him. Look at this. The camo is just making plays, and let's see. Oh, it looks like it will be a trade there. So a heads-up play from Callie, but we got to switch over now because on the other side, it is 71-79 as they're trying to desperately avoid getting taken total control. That base defense will do that, but my goodness, did Callie ever have an opportunity there? He eventually takes down both players. Probably took a little bit longer than he wanted, but my gosh, Callie on the Pulse side, making sure that they're doing okay and hanging in this match.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like Callie was being very patient there with the camera. They kind of turned around and we could see the outline, but they didn't. They had no idea he was there. Very patient about it. Did get both of the kills. Taking down the rockets was very important. Now we're getting into the business end of the game. NTSC look like they're starting to find their stride again. They will be able to, they need to be careful with these nades.
Not good.
No, it does look like they will be able to get the reset. Shady might try and push him to this one, but it looks like Punisher was there first. He can get the kill as well. No, Shady does pick up the kill, so important kill for him, but total control.
Yeah, look at this.
For Pulse.
And the perfect nades that are going to further delay that red nest. They're going to all just jump in and get red nest real quick. But look at that. It's 89 with total control. They need to stop the bleeding immediately. They just get one cap, which is super important. If they can pick up 2 more here, that will be 3 dead, I believe. We'll check the deaths really quick. Yes, indeed. 2 dead, however, on both sides, though. So that's not going to be easy for them, as it looks like they're going to try to get banned, but they're about to lose nest, and they don't have catwalk. Oh, it's going to be tough as they try to get this net reset. Looks like, yes, gets the reset. That's a big play. 86-95. And yes, they get blue bend as well. So now they have control. If they can keep this up, they can still close out the victory here. 88-95 is the score. Shady will trade with rockets. So now over to Talek, who's spawning outside. He wants to make sure that they maintain control of blue bend. However, 2 players there of Pulse Gaming are waiting in. Look at these shots. Talek not able to close though, however. Now over to Shady. It looks like they may lose blue bend. Still going up. Looks like, yes, indeed. Now it looks like on the other side, Pulse Gaming scoring once again. 96-93. What is happening over here at Nest? We got to take a look, as it looks like that is being contested. And yes, triple control, total control for Pulse, and they end on a strong note there, 100-93. My gosh, Gaskin, what a finish we just saw.
Well, that got a little bit messy at the end, but look at those kills. 22 from SLG and Fragger as well. I mean, not much from Punisher and Callie, but clearly they're doing the work, just running around, getting those captures, getting those secures, although Callie only having 2 captures actually, but they're just running around in duos at the moment. On the other side, you've got Nurix, 20 kills. He's picking up a lot there. Only 13 from Talek, and actually, so far this series, it does look like Talek has been kind of struggling a little bit.
Yeah, yes, indeed. As I have to tell you what, I mean, throughout that, in the entirety of that match, I'm actually fully out of breath after the end of that. But throughout the entirety, I felt like it was such back and forth, and that finally NTSC, like you said, their strategy was figured out by Pulse, and they were able to slow it down. And you know, what a chaotic finish, but for it to end with total control from Pulse, it requires a lot of composure, because in a situation like that, when you go down maybe 95, when we have 95 and the opponent has 86 and they start to get control right, it's easy to choke. We've seen in North American Pro League time and time again these teams losing after they have significant leads, but Pulse Gaming is able to close it out there, and they will now take the lead in the series. Like you said, that was a game they needed to win.
It was, and it was looking a little bit scary there on Blue Bend, actually. I thought NTSC were going to have that one because they had the rockets, they were pushing onto that Blue Bend. It was just a couple of those kills. They couldn't find that final headshot, and the Pulse players were surviving there on Blue Bend, and just, it was 2 players that survived on no shields. If they had died, that would have been NTSC's game. So, yeah, very important from Pulse there, a very important win. Now we're going into the kind of the unknown, really. We haven't seen much of Stasis Flag. Yeah, it's the nether realm.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Sims talked about it during the analysis, though. As you take a look at our series so far, NTSC able to win game number 1, 2-1, and then Pulse answers back with a pretty handy 50-38 win over Pulse Gaming. Over NTSC. However, game number 3 was quite close, and Pulse actually with a come-from-behind win, and then also making sure that they didn't choke towards the end of the match. They closed that out, and like we said, that's got to be a bit of a relief for them, because going down 2-1 in this stage would be risky. But Stasis was a match that, as I was saying earlier, Sims kind of talked about. This is your typical control top mid, right? Run the flag one side, block this flag the other side. for those of you watching at home, you've seen this very similar on a lot of maps. I mean, within Halo 5, it kind of follows the same lines as any of the CTF maps, really, because you have a traditional 2-base play. But if you look all the way back to something like, right, it plays very similar to a Halo Reach Zealot, to a Halo 3 Narrows, right? Halo 3 the Pit. It's control top, force a spawn, pull flag, right? The key, though, is that you are slaying as you are doing those pulls, right? Because oftentimes, if you wait until all 4 are dead, or you wait too long to kill that last player, starting that run late is not going to go well for you. Ideally, as you're pulling, you're going to be able to make some really great plays to kill players continually during that flag run. That's really what we're going to be looking for here.
And what I've noticed when this game has kind of happened during Pro League is when that overshoot, when those rockets are coming up, I've actually seen a couple of teams pushing for the flag and ignoring those power-ups, knowing that they might be able to sneak that flag round and kind of get a capture on the board. We've seen it happen several times, actually, just kind of sacrificing those power-ups, maybe sending one member of the team towards it just to kind of be some sort of distraction. But we're going to start these off now with Cali, who's going to be pushing up here. He's picked up the DMR as well. Nice, interesting weapon. I like the addition of the DMR on this map.
Yeah, it certainly is. Weapon is a lot different. If you look at the engagement ranges that you can use the Magnum Man, especially on this map, you can kind of play a little bit faster. And the reason that's placed there is, right, and not the full scope to DMR, is just really the ability to increase different engagement levels, right? So now, as you see, Nurix will be taken down as well. Shady is also under fire, so we'll go over to Solar, who is able to stay alive there, but he'll be taken down just as quickly as I say that. So over to Talik, who's taking down Fragger on the run. Looks like there's also an SLG there that he will need to defeat if he wants to stop this run fully. And I think SLG also has a shotgun, but he's going to run away because I think he knew that Shady was there helping as well. So that's going to be an easy return. So some early pressure there from Pulse. However, NTSC answers back. Cali is found with a Brute Plasma Rifle once again, and we'll see if he can finish the kill, but he doubles back on Talik, who teaches him a lesson there, but it's actually going to be Fragger who pushes in with that Assault Rifle and is able to close up on that kill as well. So, first 2 minutes played here. Of course, no score on the board just yet. This is a bit of a slower map that generally requires a little more of a full setup in order to make something happen. So, haven't spent enough time with Fragger throughout the series. We'll stay on board with him for a moment as long as he stays alive, but look at that flag as it is being ran across, and SLG is also making some plays here, trying to stay alive, but he does have Nurix as well as Solar pushing it. So now over to Solar, who's getting the return, successful return for the gentleman on NTSC.
I do like this from Pulse as well. They've obviously seen that NTSC are very aggressive, and Pulse have said, look, okay, if you're going to be aggressive, we'll get in your face as well. They were the first team to pull the flag. They've been making all the moves, and I think they said, look, rather than us dealing with whatever you do, we'll make you respond to whatever we do on the map. And so this is better from Pulse. They're now back in this series. NTSC now need to find a response, maybe mix things up, maybe change their playstyle slightly, because if they allow this Pulse team to set up, I really think they're going to struggle.
Right, I'm interested to see exactly what Talik does here. He started continued the run, also made sure to engage an opponent first. It was Cali. It looks like it pays off there, and actually their flag has been returned as it had just been pulled, so this could be a run. Let's go to third person to show you exactly what it looks like. He's going to find some resistance there from Punisher, as well as another player there who's pushing in. So he will eventually fall to, I believe, Fragger, who's trying to get the return. Not sure if he can do it. Now over to Nurix, who's going for the cap. Will he be able to bring it in? Yes, indeed. Nurix brings that in, and looks like NTSC goes up 1-0.
See, even though NTSC haven't really done it on purpose, they've kind of taken Pulse out of their comfort zone. Pulse have had to answer back, had to get aggressive, and then NTSC just pushed in with the counter cap there. They were able to slay them effectively at their base, and then they just waited. And now they have the rockets as well, so this is looking good for NTSC. If they can get control of this map, Pulse need to answer back once again. SLG is kind of your man you're going to be watching. He's been putting up big stats all day long, really, for these past few games, but now he is just going to kind of flank around here, and that's what we've seen a lot. Both of these teams just using one player to flank around effectively. You will see two players in front of him who are trying to take down this flag, but he's not able to get any real shots on either of them. Talik does push out there. You
have to wonder about Talik jumping out there when I don't really think that was what he needed to do, especially when you have SLG spawning with 3 teammates around him. So here's a quick look at the flag routes, but he actually will fall. So now we'll go over to Fragger, who's trying to make something happen here. So over to first person again, as he's going to try to bring this flag back in, but keep an eye out. That flag has been pulled, so it looks like they're desperately trying to get that return. Fragger is all the way really out of the picture. He's fighting this top-mid battle right now really on his own, but just as I say that, he knew that the flag was being reset. Let's see who can bring it in. I believe, yes, that's going to be SLG who brings it in. Gaskin, we're all tied here, 1-1.
Yeah, back and forth. This is kind of what we were expecting. Such similar skill in like the individual skill on these sides is very similar between the two of them. As we see another flag being pulled as well. It just seems like it is back and forth. They are trading effectively off the spawn. They're just pushing out and getting to every position.
Look at this, an opportunity to stop. You have to wonder why he tossed the nades exactly right there, but just as I say that, he knows far better than I about the nade placement. But look at that, Solar coming in now. They're going to try to get, I believe, that cap, and looks like SLG going for the reset. He gets a huge reset, and what a stop. There's so many players being taken down on both sides. I got to go over to Cali there, and both flags are going to be returned. What a return from CLG.
Yeah, Shady came charging in with the shotgun there, managed to pick up 1 kill, and then just slid into one of those pulse grenades.
Yep.
And just fantastic there from SLG. Really important return and keeping it at 1-1. Now Pulse need to just get with this momentum. They need to push accordingly, push together, because at the moment I feel like the game is with them.
That's exactly it now. There's 7:30 left in the match, and what a back-and-forth tug-of-war match it has been. It feels like each team has had very, very good bursts of energy, but a clutch return there from SLG keeps the scoreline at 1 apiece. Top middle actually has not been as big of a factor as we usually see, right? Especially early on, right? Usually there's these epic top mid battles to kind of have a tug of war, just like this, where there's several players inside top middle. As we'll now go over to Talik, who is right in the middle of this top mid battle, but he will fall. So Solar will fall as well. So we got to take a look at who's actually alive still. It's going to be Shady, who dies as well. So several players down on the other side, and we'll have to see as it leads to a pulse pull. But it looks like that is not going to be it just yet. Talik will fall. So now over to Shady once again. So still 1-1 here, and for a moment it looked like all the players were falling down like dominoes, but I believe we're going to see actually a little bit of a reset here with both teams.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about the battles for top mid as well. Throughout Pro League we've seen a lot of these kind of battles at lower lane and at upper as well, and then when those rockets and those overshield do come into play, that's when these teams just seem to be swarming in. It would be nice to see some teams just kind of setting up nice and early. We have seen the top teams in Pro League doing that effectively, but kind of Pulse, not really a team known for doing that, but perhaps that's why they are in the relegation today.
That's right. Now go ahead. Let's see. SLG is also get that return. Yes, indeed. So that's going to be 2-1 in favor of Pulse. And what we were watching was Cali just controlling top middle. And finally, we saw a more textbook run. He's able to just lay those DMR shots in on players who are pushing bottom middle. He's not going to be able to do anything about that. But Talik with some good shots with the DMR. He answers back. They're down by 1 flag, but they've got 6 minutes to tie it up. Plenty of time on the clock.
Yeah, what we've seen quite often from Pulse is when they are in this situation of being a flag up with only maybe 5 minutes remaining, they are awfully tempted to just sit back, wait and try and defend this flag rather than getting aggressive and trying to finish off this game. We've also seen it from the Dinosaurs as well, and actually it will play into the hands of NTSC, because I feel that if Pulse just sit back and allow NTSC to apply all this pressure, it's really going to be an advantage for them, and they might be able to get a second flag on the board to tie this one up.
Yes, indeed. Look at that. Shady pre-nading both corners to make sure nobody is waiting for the overshield. The result ended up being that his opponents, Pulse Gaming, were a little bit too late, so he's going to be able to grab the overshield and keep a little bit of it here, which is key. He should get in these battles right now, if you ask me, but no, he actually decides to wait, which is probably a smarter decision, which is why he's playing and I'm here in the casting booth. Leaves that overshield to make sure that his run is escorted just a little bit, and it might actually be the difference. But no, it looks like for some reason stopped shooting. Not exactly sure why, but it looks like SLG will be falling down. So it looks like I think Solar is running the flag, gets the slide jump. Talik is pre-nading to make sure that the coast is clear. Yes, indeed, 2-2. Next flag will win here on Stasis CTF.
Yeah, it was an interesting decision to run that flag with the overshield, but I mean, he got it halfway across the map.
Yeah.
He did kind of stop shooting. I don't know if he kind of just gave up a little bit. It was like, look,
Sneeze,
I'm going to die.
Could have been a sneeze.
Possible sneeze, maybe a wipe of just dabbing some sweat off his forehead. You never know.
Checking the time, perhaps.
Checking the time. He was probably calling out to his teammates saying, look, I'm about to die. You pick up this flag. Maybe he was just commanding his team there.
Right, yeah. Not exactly sure what happened. Looked like there might maybe even something like a controller disconnect for a brief second, but of course he is now back. That's going to be a flag return. Looks like both flags are going to be at home once again. You hear that. Still tied 2-2. 4.5 left on the clock, but we'll have to have a winner. And looks like coming in with the shotgun is Solar. He's hungry and he picks up the double kill. And I love the speed at which he's playing. Take a look at that. And even the shots he puts down on Cali. Finally, he'll be taken down. We'll go over to Cali on the Pulse side, but Pulse needs to make sure they regain control of top middle, and that kill from Fragger is going to help them do just that. Also, shotgun in hand, 3 shots inside the weapon. He has to make them count.
You've got to remember as well, Solar used to be on this Pulse lineup in Pro League. He actually left. Now he's back. He's fighting his old teammates. So there is a lot on the line here, and they'll want to be getting this game to make sure they stay in the series. And look at those kills there, actually, from Talik. 20 kills. This is what I was wanting him to do. Kind of struggled in the first few games. Now he's stepping it up a little bit. And surprisingly, on a map where there isn't a sniper, he is renowned for being one of the best snipers in France.
Yep, and for better or for worse, he's on a big flank here. Hasn't really, might want want to swap out with the DMR. It looks like 4 of the Magnum. Yes, so he's waiting to pull, needs to be patient. He's going to start to run. So popping into third person really quick. He does have 1 teammate down, 3 spawning in the corner. So he's really forcing the opponent towards him. We'll go back to first, but look at this. I mean, the NTSC team sends 3 players back. You got to love that. Solar's going to get the return. Looks like no one on Pulse Gaming is going to be able to make something happen from that, and they'll reset. So a good idea there from the Pulse side. However, NTSC answers back with a much better response. They send 3 players back immediately. That's that's what you have to do. You can't let if you send only 1 or 2 players back and somehow that player gets away, that's game over. So they did really well to make sure to triple team the flag carrier.
That kind of sums up NTSC throughout this whole series, really. They've just been kind of working so well as a team. They've been pushing everything together and just rotating it as a squad accordingly. But Solar is going to get caught off guard on his own now. We will jump over to Kali, see if he can do anything.
Doesn't know it yet, but 2 players along the stairs. But man, I gotta say, I love what I'm seeing from Shady. Shady wastes no time and flies right up here, but it should be a 2v1, so this should be an easy kill for Pulse. They haven't picked it up yet, though. And Shady actually is up top, pulls off the full juke, and it might spell trouble, but Shady, yes, pulls down the ground pound. So what a juke that we just saw from him. Might pick up this one as well. Looks like lays down the melee and thrusts away to get himself out of melee range. So I gotta say, I like what I'm seeing from Shady. To push out, he spawns backstairs. Very bad spawn, right? If you're trying to make something happen, and just flies at them and actually jukes both of them and lays down a ground pound and picks up a second kill.
Yeah, and the flag will be pulled out as well, so they're not going to be able to put this one in. They're going to want to try and get the return here. Kali's going to be taken down by Nurix as well, so he's going to be able to try and return this one. But he will be contested as well, so it does look like both of these flags are going to be... No! It does go in for Pulse.
That is it, and it looks like, yes, Pulse Gaming able to shut down after all that, and I tell you what, I mean, the difference maker there, I mean, you have to think that all the stuff that Shady was doing was actually buying his team time, but actually, I got to give credit to Pulse on their side because they did not need to kill Shady in that moment, right? They were able to run that flag back, but let's take a look at the kills.
Yeah, 25 kills there from Fragger. Absolutely solid work from him. 20 from SLG as well. Only 19 and 10 from Kali and Punisher accordingly, but 24 from Talik. That's the Talik I'm used to seeing, but flag returns 4 from Solar. He was doing work that game, but I mean, Shady actually, he was being a massive nuisance, and we saw it in Eden Strongholds as well. His movement is absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately it wasn't enough, as it just got very crazy, and I don't think even NTSC had realized the flag was out when Shady was doing all that dancing.
Right, yeah, that's exactly it, and that was the time that he needed to spend. As you see, he's able to close that out, but really that's it for NTSC in terms of that match. They have to now look forward, of course. That's a big game for Pulse to win, like we had said, for them to continue pushing in this series like that. But these matches have been so close. When you look at a 3-2 match, this series, of course, can still go either way. I like what I'm seeing from Pulse, I have to say. It felt like NTSC was finally the team playing catch-up there, as they were able to, I believe they tied after 1-1, and they also tied after 2-2, right? They had to answer back on both flags. So far, still anyone's series, but Pulse is showing a much better side of them than we had seen previously.
Yeah, and Pulse now 3-1 up in the series. They just need one more, and I think this is what we were needing to see, because I think we're going into Regret Slayer next, but those final 2 games that would have been happening, that's when you're kind of worrying about this Pulse lineup. But they asked the question of NTSC. In the first game, NTSC kind of took it to Pulse, and Pulse said, look, okay, we're going to now dominate the play. We're going to make you have an answer for everything that we do.
Yes, that's right indeed. Here we have a tweet from Oni. How would you pronounce that?
That's Aimless.
Aimless. Thank
we'll
you.
just go with Aimless.
I appreciate it. Let's see. Watching this HCS stream, it makes me really want to compete again. #blame Sims. I think, first of all, Aimless, you should absolutely compete again. We're glad you're tuning in and enjoying the show. And we also think you should blame Sims. And it's probably his fault that you're no longer competing. So
genuinely could be.
Yeah, it probably is. There's a very good chance. But Aimless, thanks so much for joining us today. If you want to join the conversation, use #HCS on Twitter. Let us know what you think is going to happen in not only this series, but also the entire day. We have yet to determine which teams will be advancing to Pro League fall season here in Europe. Let's take a look at the series so far if you're just joining us. NTSC with a very strong Truth capture of the flag. It was a 2-1 win, but really they dominated that match. Pulse Gaming, though, wins the next 3. But we're getting ready to go into this next game. It's going to be Slayer on Regret here. Of course, 12 minutes on the clock, 50 kills to win. And let's see, who do you want to kick things off with here?
Actually, I'd like to see Shady, because he was doing all that work. He was just kind of being a real nuisance, jumping around everywhere, and his survivability seems to be fantastic. And if you can survive in a Slayer, that's always going to be good. But he's going to kind of push down bottom mid. He's not going to go for the overshield just yet. It looks like his teammates are going to push towards that one. We'll pick up the kill finally on Fragger, and we are only 2-2. So just trading these kills at the moment. I'm not sure who did pick up that overshield. initially, but Shady just doing his usual thing, being a nuisance, just putting shots onto everything, but he needs to be careful here.
I think we may have seen an burn on that overshield. As I see no players really able to sneak away with it if my eyes aren't deceiving me. But look at that, a nice double from Shady and Solar to take out SLG as well. So now we'll go over to teammate Solar, who's on the other side, trying to make those first pushes to find those spawners. But I tell you what, we have now NTSC really answering back in this game, but it feels like this series really ran away from NTSC, right? They were doing well in each game, however, they were not able to close out these past 3 games. So this could be a very different series if certain plays had gone different ways. However, they need to not focus on that and rather look ahead. They're up 9-5 here in this game number 5.
I think that's the main difference as well between maybe a Pro League team and an open team, is just having the experience to shut down those final games. But really, I'd be worried if I was Dinosaurs right now. Looking at how closely contested these 2 teams are, and considering NTSC were the first team to qualify over the team that they actually played earlier, in the fact that we know the secret, I mean, I'd be worried if I was Dinosaurs. But focusing on this game, a 3-kill lead now for NTSC, just over to 2 now. And I think NTSC, if they can keep this a little bit random, they can keep it to individual fights. That's what they really need to focus on. They've been just kind of playing to Pulse's game in the last couple of games. Yeah,
I tell you what I'm worried about here is the fact that it's now 11-12 and that Pulse has answered back, right? So I think it was just something like maybe a 9-5 lead, but now it's only a 2-kill game. So Pulse has answered back. They're starting to catch up. Some really good pistol engagements that we just saw earlier from both sides. I believe it was Talik and Solar who were engaging one another. But this game is far too close for comfort if you're NTSC. That lead has already been removed, and they need to make sure that they get this back, obviously, if they want to stay in the series.
Yeah, they really just need to kind of group up together and just try and do what they've been doing, really. Like, they haven't been playing badly. They've been rotating as squad. They've been putting shots effectively. That fuel rod cannon is up, and like we saw earlier on Truth, no one really going for it. The overshield is picked up, I believe, by NTSC. It is in the hands of Shady.
Yeah, I mean, with the storm rifle here as well. Actually, melted. There, as you see, we'll go over to Punisher, who is part of that melt, as they're able to take down that overshield immediately. A melee plus a storm rifle, and look at that, just like that, they gain the lead. So, I mean, how fast was that NTSC lead and overshield grab? And just like that, we have Pulse Gaming take the lead. They neutralize the overshield. Well done to respond back, but Shady actually going to be Shady in the bottom of the base and sneaking that kill. So over to his teammate Solar, who is trying to exactly find out what Cali's doing and gets the better of him. 21-20 is the score. And a lot of this game played around the bases so far, right? We saw a few top mid engagements in the first minute or so, but since then we've been really seeing the cycles that are pretty characteristic of this map now.
I don't think either team has kind of allowed the other to set up right now. They just kind of be floating around that bottom mid, around the flanks, and no one's really been sitting top mid. And I think once one of these teams gains a little bit of a lead, they kind of maybe get a 7-kill lead. That's when we might see one of these kind of players just sit top mid and just rain down shots for the rest of his team. But I think we're going to be looking at that kind of 30-kill mark when one of these teams is going to break away.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, that typically is what we see here, especially when we see that overshield dropping as obviously an opportunity for one team to pull away, but Pulse made sure that NTSC was not able to do it. But now NTSC, just as we said all that, they're now up 28-22, so they've had a great round, and like you said, this is where they could once again pull away as they get ready for that next overshield. But it felt like Solar was finding their Cali time and time again. He doesn't have any shots left in the Magnum yet, though, so he's going to need to make a move to top mid to try to see if he can find any ammo. But look at this. He's doing quite well to support with the AR, I must say.
Yeah, that Plasma Caster is going to be up in just about 5 seconds, so I wonder if anyone is going to pick that one up just yet. But the overshield is going to be spawning pretty soon, so both these teams are going to be trying to set up around it. We're probably going to see a bit of a battle bottom mid.
Oh my
lovely
gosh. Look at Solar. I mean, he still does not have any Magnum ammo, but he's just using that pulse grenade as well as using his AR to not only stay alive, but even really push across the map in aggressive fashion. Finally gets a BR in hand and right away puts it to use against Punisher. Finds SLG, might pick up the perfect no. Turns the double with 5 shots though. So now 35-26, and NTSC is finally pulling away. Just like you said, Gaskin, 30 kill mark is where they started to make the difference.
Yeah, and now Pulse will start to get a little bit worried, and they're probably going to just push out alone and maybe even play into the hands of NTSC even more. And actually, this is a really important game for NTSC. Obviously, it keeps them alive, but looking at the rest of the games left in this series, I honestly think we could see like a massive comeback now from NTSC. So they need to keep this lead. It is 9 kills, so Pulse really need to do some work. They really need to group up together and be pushing together, because if they are just pushing out of the base randomly off spawn, they're going to really struggle to get back into this game.
Yes, indeed. Now, as apologies for that switch there, so now over to Punisher here. They're down 29-38. He's desperately trying to pick up a kill here, but unable to do so. And I think we've seen from from the Pulse side. They're trying to finish kills that they maybe can't get themselves to do, right? They're trying to make something happen sometimes when they don't really have all of the pieces together. But 31-39, not over yet. Looks like 33-39 just as I say that. So now they're only down by 6. I believe it was just about a 9-kill deficit. So they're slowly bringing this match back, but they'll have to find their opponents off spawn.
Well, what we've been saying, NTSC haven't been able to close out these games, so are they going to struggle again in these latter stages? Pulse now do seem to have top mid control as well. Punisher needs to be careful he doesn't get taken down by some grenades. He will be approached by Solo, and Solo does have a carbine, which will take him out when he has the pistol.
Absolutely there. I was worried about that push, and I think, if you ask me, we needed to see the players on Pulse worried about that push a little sooner, right? I mean, he threw the 2 Pulse grenades across the map, and I'm wondering, maybe save one of those for a player who's going to push on you, and that's exactly what happened.
And that next overshield is going to be dropping very soon, so actually could be a big difference. If Pulse could grab it, it could be a big swing, and they might be able to find themselves back in this game, as Fragger is just going to push up next to this Plasma Cast. You might pick that up as well. Just a 5-kill game now as well. Talik's going to get caught off guard, but a massive reverse kill there with the Storm Rifle.
I mean, yeah, that was Storm Rifle on Storm Rifle. Well-executed reversal now. It's going to be 45-39. You think Talik really should have been taken down there. His shields still haven't come up. Callie's trying to get the steal, does not get the burn. I believe it's going to be clean for Solar. We'll go ahead and check. Yes, that's a full overshield. 48-39, 49-40. Next kill will win. It's only a matter of time for Solar to sniff out the enemy and push into the base. Let's see, trying to make a push low. Yes, indeed. That's going to be victory. NTSC stays alive with a 50-40 victory on Regret TS, and we are heading to the dreaded latter stages of this series, Gaskin.
Yeah, 15 kills there from Solar, 14 from Shady as well, and that's the kind of pairing I've been talking about all series, those two just running around. Below them, you've got Nurex and Talik, who have just been sticking together as like kind of support players, so it's been working very well as a 4. They've been very fluid. On the other side, you really do have to look at those 5 kills from Fragger, and he hasn't been performing as well as we've been expecting him to do, considering how well he has done throughout Pro League. But I have to kind of touch on that final kill there. Talik surviving, getting that reverse kill. Then he kind of just waited for his shields to recharge, pushed round, and stopped Pulse from getting that overshield as well.
And big assists there, like you said, from the entire team on NTSC, right? I believe what we're looking at is 34 combined assists. And just along the board, just a neat 10 deaths each. Seems like they're really playing on the same page. So 50-40 is that final score in that match. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for the next one. But like you said, NTSC not only needed that to stay alive, but now they're heading into matches that could certainly go in their favor, and we could see a reversal in the series as well. I have to say, when moments like Talik staying alive with the Storm Rifle there, it has to also still get in Pulse's head, even though they're likely going to lose that game anyway. What we saw is NTSC time and time again pull away. Like you said, at the 30-kill mark, that's exactly what they were looking to do, and they're able to pull it off.
And NTSC are this big momentum team, so now the momentum shifts toward them. This is their chance, and as I said earlier, Strongholds Rig, Pulse's most vetoed Stronghold map. Then we go into Slayer, and it's Slayer on what? Sorry, I don't actually have that. So it's Slayer on the Truth. Slayer on Truth. Yeah, that's their most vetoed Slayer map. So you would think they're going to struggle here. Clearly they wanted to get rid of them in Pro League, but you can't rely on it too much as factual information, because you've got to be thinking they might have been voting against other teams that they know are strong on it. Whereas, however, NTSC, they won't know too much about them. They obviously might have watched a few of the open circuit things, but we know that these French teams haven't been scrimming each other at all. They've kind of been playing other teams. So this is a big one for them, and it's kind of one of the biggest French rivalries we've seen in a while.
Oh, yeah, it certainly is. And of course, whichever team is able to squeeze this out, they're going to be feeling good heading through the winner's bracket and trying to represent their country in the Pro League. But they know that whichever team loses here, of course, still has a chance to rally back. And like Sims and I were talking about, we could still see 2 French teams entering the fall season of Pro League by the time we're done this evening. Rig Strongholds is going to be the next game type. Plays significantly different from everything we've really seen. Especially, it plays so different from Eden Strongholds, right? There are times when the rotations are slightly similar, but largely it's a very different game type. And just because we saw Pulse, first of all, they only won 193, but second of all, when they close out that game type, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have the upper hand on the Rig Strongholds. We haven't seen the map yet, so it'll be interesting to see exactly how this plays out. You have to wonder, are we going to see players like SLG go off, right? Are we going to be able to see Talik pull off similar plays like he did in the last game? Which player is going to stand out for his squad? But we're going ahead and get ready for this game. Of course, 12 minutes on the clock once again. 100 points to win. Objective of the game is to control more points than your opponent to score. You need a control of at least 2 to put points on the board. If you control all 3, you'll score even faster. It's going to be NTSC versus Pulse Gaming here in winners round 1. We'll go ahead and get underway right now, starting things off with SLG.
I'm really excited for this match as well, because the playstyles of these teams are so different. SLG actually picking up the railgun straight away, so we will see what he can do. But yeah, what I was saying, Pulse, they're this team that like to set up, they like to have control of the map. However, NTSC, they like to rotate together, just be aggressive, push round, which can work on Rig Strongholds, especially with this new kind of addition where they've kind of moved the basement. In the old kind of setup for Rig Strongholds, I would have said Pulse would have won this game 10 out of 10 times. However, I really think NTSC do have a good chance after that kind of little change.
Right, of course, yeah, that subtle change you're talking about is just moving that stronghold. If you remember from the Halo World Championship, that basement stronghold was a little bit closer to Nest. It has since been moved a little bit further away to force the rotations and really force diversity across the map. But now, I have to say, Pulse Gaming's opening for me. Look at that double kill across the map against a spawning Solar. Might even try to get 3 if he can against Talik, but it's cleaned up before it even needs to, and they might be able to kill that last player as well, who is in the back. Let's see, that player is going to stay alive just a little bit longer, probably longer than SLG and the entire Pulse side would have liked, causing quite a havoc, but finally Nurix is taken down. But what I saw here, Gaskin, was that SLG and the entire Pulse crew, they played the slow start, right? They let the enemy team get Nest. Instead, they got Tower and Rail, and now as a result, they're sitting pretty. They've got control. They're up 12-8, and this is where you want to be at this point in the game, right? I like their slow start.
And this is the thing with Pulse. I just think they're a little bit more calm. They're a little bit more collected. They know what they want to do. They have a little bit more brains about them, whereas NTSC just seem to be more about raw aggression, slaying power. They do have a couple of young players. You're going to be looking at Talik to try and coordinate a few more pushes, a few more rotations if they want to win this game, but they are now starting to lose a little bit of control of this map, and they need to be careful of doing that. Solar just getting caught out trying to flank as well. Shady now on his own, but he does have an automatic to help him. But fantastic movement there from SLG to stay alive and finish off that kill.
Yes, indeed. I thought he was going to get clipped around the corner, but instead he stays alive. Look at this, 23-8. So Pulse, of course, set out. They want to end this series right here and now. They know that should they head beyond this, it'll get to dangerous waters as well on the Slayer on Truth. But right now, not even letting their opponents get to double digits. He's going to have to do some quick work with the scatter shot. Looked like he was even tracking his opponent through the wall. He knew exactly where he was going. But finally, Nurix will take down SLG. So over to Nurix, who has the railgun in hand. He has 4 left in the clip as well.
Yeah, and SLG there, he just kind of chose his target wrong. I think he thought his teammate had a little bit more control of the battle, but Nurix going to be taken down. It means the railgun will be on offer just there in basement, but Talik is there to make sure that Sonny isn't going to pick it up, but Solar actually he's just jumping around everywhere.
My goodness, I thought Fragger was going to get the better of Talik. He almost went out of his line of vision there above that line, but 39-8 total control. Pulse Gaming not messing around here in this game at number 6 in your winner's bracket round 1. This is Saturday Relegation here at the ESL UK headquarters. Yeah,
and Talik now just kind of pushing around. He's going to want to make sure that they don't get Nest. If I were him, I'd like to try and get a reset here, but he is aware 2 players are in white hole. He goes for the ground pound.
I'm not sure about that play there. Goes for that ground pounds. Will go over to Punisher, who is here. He's going to get Nest finally putting them on the board, but you have to wonder. I mean, he probably could have teed up two railgun kills quite easily there. Instead goes for the ground pound, so it's going to give a little bit of time for his opponents to put some points on the board. But just as quickly as I say that, Pulse Gaming scoring once again, and then Nest actually is going to go to NTSC, so they will begin scoring yet again. Now over to Solar.
Yeah, we've obviously said all season how important Nest is, and also controlling Whitehall, because you can see every single stronghold from that position. And I just think NTSC at the moment, they really need to group up. They've started to kind of play into Pulse's hands by just walking around individually, but I mean, if Talik is going to do this and get double kills, then you can just walk around on your own, buddy.
That's exactly what it is. Looks like several players down here, so we'll go ahead and switch now over to Nurix, who's just barely staying alive. He has help, but Fragger's going to get the better of him. You can bet that Shady doesn't have to do the work due to the from the grave kill. So now over to Shady, who's staying alive and backstairs, and they're down 27-46, but they do have control. They are scoring, and they can easily get back into this, especially with some railgun control, which is coming up in just a moment.
Yeah, and Shady is just going to kind of use the ground pound efficiently here to try and get into this railgun room. He will actually find a railgun as a reward, but he will be taken down from across the map. I really want to see NTSC get in the faces of Pulse now, go for that total control, really try and take them out of their comfort zone.
I wasn't sure if that railgun dropped. It did not, but finally it's down again. Talik is going to be grabbing it now, so finally, after several exchanges of hands, the railgun does fall into Talik's hands. Is he going to go on a rail camo spree? Quite possibly. They have control. They're only down by a few points, and we have Talik now with railgun camo. All of the pieces are in place for an NTSC comeback.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want if you want to get back into this game. The Pulse players did see the railgun start to light up in the hands of Talik there, so they did back off, and now actually Talik will get caught off guard. He needs to be careful, probably needs to try and survive with this camo. It's so important, and in fact imperative he survives if they want to continue getting back into this game, and they will actually now take the lead as he does pick up another kill with that railgun.
picks up a double, and he totally avoided that player. You know, if it was me, I probably would have taken the bait. He just flies by another opponent to get that double kill, and now they've gained the lead. They still have control. Take a look at this. They're the first team to reach the halfway mark, 51-46. Talik stepping up when he needed to.
Yep, definitely. This is what we've been expecting from this man. One of the greatest players. In fact, he does not quite get the double, but just using that scatter shot effectively, and there is total control now, and now this is where the damage can be done against Pulse. If NTSC just carry on being too aggressive, not give Pulse any chance of getting it.
Solar getting shot by one player, ground pounded by another, and scatter shotted by the third. I mean, he's just taken down, and we're seeing some great teamwork now. Take a look at where the opponents are pushing in from. Total control at the 71-point mark now. NTSC on a tear, and Pulse Gaming have lost complete control of this match.
Yeah, and that's what NTSC have had to do. They've had to take Pulse out of their kind of comfort zone, as now Talik will just walk in. Killing frenzy for Talik. This is the man that I've been wanting to see all series, and he's really lighting it up when he needs to. They have a massive lead now. If they can just continue what they're doing, just getting in the faces of Pulse, they're going to be tying this series up, and we'll be going to a Game 7.
No, it looks like he doesn't. Finally gets taken down. I thought he was going to get that as well. Finally, we will see SLG, I believe, was the one to take him down, but now over to Punisher. But look at this. It's too little, too late. It's total control now as we go over to the other side. It's going to be Nurex there, who is at 93, 95 now, total control. Time is ticking away, and they had not looked back at all.
And Talik again with 2 railgun kills, and they will push into that basement to get total control once again. That's going to be the game for NTSC. We've tied this one up. We're going to a Game 7.
And I think I know exactly what we're going to see when we pull up these stats in just a moment. And it's going to be the Talik show. 21 and 5 from him. Of course, Fragger on the other side hitting the 17 mark. That's awfully close. But Talik, you said even after we left his POV, picks up another double with the railgun. When we were on board with him and saying that this is his chance to win the game, we didn't know he would do it that quickly. They were tied at about 46, I believe. Yep. They were tied 46-46. No, excuse me. They were down by 10. I believe it was 36-46. They were down by 10. They had just gotten railgun camo, and what followed was disastrous for Pulse Gaming.
What was important was Talik surviving with that camo railgun as well. He kind of had it. Yeah. He kind of wobbled a little bit, didn't get a kill, and then he just sprinted across the map. He got with his teammates, made sure he had that support, and then that's when he started to go off. But wow, this is what everyone was expecting from this game. I mean, these are 2 of France's best lineups. There's a lot on the line here. Whoever wins will go on to play We Know the Secret, and I mean, NTSC have beaten We Know the Secret already in open circuit, so they'd be confident going into that lineup. Pulse should be confident going into that game because obviously they're from Pro League, but could we, dare I say it, could we be seeing 2 of our Pro League teams dropping into the losers bracket, meaning that definitely one of them would be going out?
Yeah, we absolutely could. Let's see, we have a tweet here from, our friend Doodle says NTSC looks very promising. 2 French teams in the next season is realistic. Certainly a possibility that we've been weighing in a very real sense here from this. They both look pretty good. So thanks, of course, Doodle, for joining the conversation. And also remember, you can join the conversation on Twitter as well. Using the hashtag HCS, let us know what you think about the matches here and your predictions for not only today, but also the finals event, which will be going on tomorrow. Finals for the summer season of the European Pro League. But my gosh, I mean, that was, Talik just making the exact perfect play, and it felt like he was so supported by his team at every moment. One of my favorite moments was Talik turns the corner going into BR base, and a player is getting magnumed, about to get scatter shotted, and just after he dies, gets ground pounded. I mean, Solar had absolutely no prayer of staying alive in any fashion there. So that is an example of NTSC really applying that pressure and collapsing on that. They didn't look back, though. My gosh, I mean, they pulled away and never looked back, and one of the most dominating total control runs I've seen on the rig. But here is the series so far, and what an interesting road it has been. NTSC wins the first game, really setting the stage and pace for the rest. However, Pulse Gaming answers back, especially games 3 and 4, pretty close matches, 193 on Rig Strongholds and Stasis CTF, a 3-2. But NTSC answers back with much bigger margins, 50-40 and 100-46. So True Slayer will be our game number 7 to decide which team will advance in the winner's bracket of our relegation Saturday.
And this is why I was saying it was so important for Pulse to get those wins on Rig Strongholds and on Stasis Capture the Flag, because I knew going into the business end, going into the last few games of this series, they would struggle. I mean, I think they vetoed Truth Slayer 28% of the time. So, I mean, that's quite a lot going across their arse. Obviously, 6 game types as well. So that is quite a heavy veto for them. Clearly not very confident going into this last one, but you never know. We haven't seen NTSC perform on it particularly well either, so I think this could be a really kind of a close one, a very scrappy battle actually, especially when there is so much on the line.
It could indeed. True Slayer, you know, you've been talking about NTSC's ability to really feed on momentum. This is the chance for them to do it, right?
Yeah.
This is the chance for them to carry this through. But we saw very strong displays, and not only in games 2, 3, and 4, but keep in mind, one of those was a Slayer, and we liked what we saw in Plaza Slayer towards the end, but it's all about Slayer on Truth. This is our first game, number 7 of the weekend. You have NTSC going up against Pro League team Pulse Gaming to see which team will advance in the winner's bracket, of course with the goal of staying in the league. But we're going to go ahead and start things off here in this match with Talik of NTSC.
Yeah, the man himself, he just performed absolutely exceptionally in the last game, so I'm expecting big things from him. He's going to push in towards this carbine. He will be greeted by Punisher and taken down, actually. So the first 2 kills going towards Pulse Gaming. They do need this early start.
What he was hoping for with that AR out, maybe hoping to catch a player with a grenade as well as clean it up with the AR, but he does get outplayed there by Punisher. But just as quickly as I say that, I believe it's going to be Shady who takes him down. So now over to Shady. Early, of course, these teams still neck and neck here, 2-3, about 30 seconds in, and neither team able to establish complete control. However, take a look at all of his opponents now. Pulse is really locked inside. Oh, but look at these perfect nades as we see. Shady's just going to have to play this nice and slow because his opponents are making that. Oh, and another grenade comes in, so he's going to need to join the fight pretty soon because right now his team is kind of fighting 3v4, so he wisely jumps out and starts to lay down some shots, and they gain the lead.
And we're seeing this again from NTSC, just like we saw in Truth capture the flag. The sword is in their hands. Nurex is currently just running riot with it. Talik's now picked up the fuel rod cannon as well, so they've got all the goodies in their bag, and this is not looking too great for Pulse. I'm expecting kind of Solar and Shady to start pincering bases again, just like they were doing during the capture the flag game, but I think Pulse are really going to want to try and slow this game down.
That's right. Now Shady, of course, just squatting his way down across the map, but he will pop up as he begins to walk there. So it looks like a player did drop to try to clean him up. I think that's Punisher. Yes, indeed, Punisher does drop, but he gets punished himself. But I think that was Callie who's able to clean up the kill. Yes, 6-8. So we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown here, right? Truth, TS definitely does not usually slow down to this level this early on in the game, but of course neither team wants to be the one to make the mistake.
I think that says a lot about nerves as well. Both these teams are just a little bit worried about pushing out. They don't want to give anything to the opposing team, but there is a 3-kill gap as Nurex also takes down Fragger, and we just see Nurex, he's just holding this P2. He has a sword in his back pocket as well, so he's in a very dangerous position. Pulse are very reluctant to push up there.
Yep, and I'm not sure if Callie knows, first of all, that there's no one in that pink 2 tower, and I think he's playing very slowly. Wow, you know, he had to get a call out there. He had to know a player with a sword was coming around just because he was ready to watch that sneaky ledge, and he wisely made sure not to push out.
So what Nurex actually did, he was in P2 with a sword, he pushed over to top mid, and he jumped around because he knew Callie was waiting there, but he was punished. Callie's not quite getting the sword kill. Eventually does take down Shady, but that was a close one. We are now tied up at 12-12, and I kind of feel like this is how the game is going to go. We're going to be back and forth, very closely contested.
Yep, yes indeed. Now as we take a look at the scoreboard, take a look here. It's going to be Nurex who leads there with 5, but it looks like 14 and 12, and it looks like Callie able to stay alive just like that. Might get another slice, even though he only had about half shields. He's able to pick up that kill as well.
Yeah, but he just kind of, even though he was sprinting, like, he just knew he was going to get a guaranteed kill. He wasn't going to get shot up there from that position, but now he just needs to hide, needs to be careful, get his shields back, and then he will be greeted by 3 members there, but he's just going to just kind of stay alive, which is good. Not being overzealous, allowing his teammates to push in to finish off the kills instead, just making sure he stays alive with that sword and getting these important kills as they now are ahead by 4, and maybe, just maybe, Pulse can start to make a lead here.
Yes, indeed. Now I'm going to try to clear out this with some pulse grenades from Pulse, but right now they're only up by 3. 18-15 is the score. Not exactly sure where Solar is, so he's going to once again rotate. It looks like Callie is just kind of desperately trying to support his team the best way as can, but luckily he picks up that kill against Talik. For a moment, look at a little bit of frustration there, right? He's trying to have his head on a swivel and clean up these kills and get opponents weak, but wasn't able to do that just yet. So they're actually, their lead will shrink. It's now, just as I say that now, it will stay the same, 20-17.
Callie has kind of been staying in the base pretty much the whole game, just kind of playing that anchor role and just putting supporting shots across the whole base, but he does need to be careful that he won't encourage these constant spawns, and if NTSC do start to get those power weapons and run away with the game, they are really going to enclose on those bases, and that will punish him.
This is the scenario that worries me. We've talked about it a lot during the first 2 series, but right now they're maintaining their now 1 kill lead, and they're just kind of fighting outside the base, right? And this is a recipe for disaster. You can't win games from inside a base like this unless you really capitalize on an opponent's mistakes. They need to start changing the way they play. So I'm glad to see that they're actually pushing out towards Carbine now and making some plays on that side. But once again, this is still such a stalemate here, and if I'm Pulse, I want to play this game very differently than what I'm doing right now.
Okay, seeing the sword come out of the back pocket, I can kind of understand Kali's playstyle, but actually it reminds me a lot of Onyx on Halo 4. You'd always have that one player who just kind of anchor that position in window, but there isn't as much visibility on Truth as the camo actually is going to get picked up by Shady.
Wonder, no pre-nade there, but it looks like they're going to be able to take down Shady regardless. So Kali and I believe SLG doing well to clean that up. But let's see who that was. That was Talik, who has a fuel rod in hand. So now 25 to 26. Just like I said, this is now we're finally seeing this really come full circle, right? You don't want to sit in the base and play like that. I don't think that's the way that you win games on Truth TS. You need to be able to play one step ahead of your opponent, and the second you have a man advantage, and you know you can get away with it, you push. And look at that. Finally now 27-27. Talik is pushing out bravely, getting in shots on SLG. Look at him just flying up there. I think he is going to have help from the base as well, but it didn't come fast enough actually. So it's actually going to be Fragger who capitalizes on that, and I stand corrected. Pulse Gaming will actually maintain the lead with a nice double from Fragger.
Yeah, I'm sure Talik would have been screaming at his teammates there just to come and support him.
That's it.
Fragger actually gets the triple kill now, and he will push to top mid as well, look for an overkill, but there is not going to be enough time. But here's the control now coming out from Pulse. Fragger has top mid, the rest of his teammates are pushing around Carbine as well. NTSC need to be very careful with the way they push, but Shady getting a very important kill, taking down Fragger from top middle.
This looks like now going over to SLG, but actually he will get the receiving end of some AR kills from Shady. So now 31 to 32, still anyone's game. All the exchanges have simply led us to this, still a tied match. No hit markers, it looks like, from either player in that exchange, so they'll have to play this one out and wait for teammates to help. But you're right, Talik needed his team to push on that bubble immediately. They should have pushed right out. We might be seeing a very different game had that push happened.
Yeah, we will see the fuel rod and the camo both coming up soon as well. So this is going to be a very important, maybe the most important part of the game. We've seen the camo being burnt a couple of times, so I wonder whether either team is going to be able to kind of set up here, grab that camo and use it efficiently. There is a 3-kill lead for Pulse. SLG was dropping, he knows the camo was there. Now we see Solar pushing towards it as well. We're just seeing everyone kind of enclosed on this camo, but it's still not up. The timing is not quite right from either of these teams.
Oh, let's go. We're going to keep over there. Let's see. Actually, he flew to a base, so now I'm going to go ahead and see exactly where that might have landed as we go over to Punisher now. I'm going to keep an eye on that. He's able to pick up that fuel rod kill. Somehow doesn't fall, so 39 to 34. And oh my gosh, takes down Nurx as well. He had a little bit of help from SLG. So Pulse Gaming 40 to 34. They're up by 6. It looks like so far that patient playstyle that I was criticizing is paying off for them.
It is, because NTSC have kind of been playing into it. They've been trying to push around, but they've been doing it individually. They've been trying to use these players to flank, and Pulse have just been punishing them every single time. As Punisher is going to push in, he does pick up the kill with the fuel rod. 43, just 7 more kills now they need to advance through in this winner's bracket.
Talik desperately trying to stay alive, and it looks like he has a sword, by the way. He's running like that. Now 44 to 35, and I think that really sums it up, Dan. You said NTSC hasn't been playing as if they're playing against a team that plays slow, right? They've been playing, they haven't changed their play style to that, and it's really cost them so far. So only 6 kills to win for Pulse Gaming to advance here in the winner's bracket, but it's not over yet. 45-36.
No, it's not over yet, but just 4 kills. You'd really expect Pulse to be pushing in now. Just get aggressive. You've been passive all game. Now's the time to just run around as forward, get those kills, because you only need 3 more to the opposition 12. We do see Shady with a sword, but he can't take down Kali. He swipes twice and still gets taken down. Just 2 more kills now needed.
Swipes twice, should have swiped right there, as you see. 48 to 39, only 2 more kills. SLG is hiding in the back of his base, but it looks like Nurx is actually a player. We'll go to him, who has a sword out, but he might now get doubled. And no, yes, he gets the kill now. 40 to 48. You see, he's going to try to keep, but now it's 49. So let's see, that's going to be it. Pulse Gaming able to win game number 7, 50 to 40. My heavens, let's take a look at the stats. And look at that, 13 and 5 from Kali. That's the first time we've really seen him step up in such a big way in this series, and boy, did he ever do it at a time when it counted. For the rest of the match, though, everyone's pretty much neck and neck. You had Shady with 9 and 14, but everyone else is pretty even across the board there. But Pulse Gaming is able to close it out in game number 7, and I gotta say, Gaskin, like I alluded to earlier, the playstyle that I was criticizing so much. I think, first of all, I don't think it's the way that Pulse necessarily needed to play that, but NTSC did not take advantage of the fact that Pulse was playing.
Yeah, I think it was questionable from Pulse, but I think you're completely right. NTSC just kind of played into those hands, and they didn't take advantage of it. They weren't pushing and getting aggressive. They really could have just swarmed those bases and just picked up those rifles and controlled the map. But I mean, congratulations to Pulse. Fantastic performance from them overall. But I mean, that's the series we were expecting. We were expecting it to be that close. NTSC put up a fantastic fight. They will drop into the losers bracket where they will face Dinosaurs to see who will be eliminated first from relegation.
And yeah, what a match it will be. Dinosaurs, like you were saying, has to be worried about NTSC going all the way to Game 7 with some incredible performances. But I have to say, Pulse Gaming, they made it work. A lot of the plays that we saw from I believe it might have been SLG in the base, right, with the sword. It really paid off, and I think I safely say I stand corrected in the way that they were able to close it out in that Truth Slayer. So congrats to Pulse. They will advance. Looks like we're now ready to go over to the analysis desk to break down what we just saw. Gentlemen, over to you.
Thank you very much. And yes, what a series. We're all sitting here wondering whether it would go distance, and it did. Game 7. So let's kind of get your first impressions from that one. It was as we thought it was going to be, very tight, a coin flip between these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, without question it, we did say Game 7, and we also mentioned that if it went to Game 7, Pulse would clinch it. We've generally been around a couple of maps here and there. We did say it may not have gone the way they went, but generally speaking, tooth and nail, all the way down to the wire. Two of France's, if not best teams there fighting. And, no words can say that the gameplay spoke for itself, really. Incredible players, incredible teams. Just, what a way, we're on Saturday and we're already getting Game 7.
That was exactly what I expected from the series, as you say. That was, neither of those teams wanted to give an inch. I think we were in Game 7, it was still tied up at like 30 all.
Yeah.
And then the result was there. But, hats off, I think, round of applause to both of those French teams. That was an incredible series.
It certainly was, and so many maps. I mean, when NTSC did win a map, it was a little bit more dominating than when Pulse won a map, because those maps really were close. But they still won 4 of them, and NTSC only won 3. So at the end of the day, it's one of those ones where it was a close game, but a win's still a win. All right, let's kind of go through map 1 first of all. This is where it kind of kicked off here, and you know what? It was a win, CTF. What did you expect?
Well, Truth CTF at the start, it seemed, it was a bit of a theme throughout the series. It seemed most of the arena style maps, the sort of classic Halo maps, really seemed to favour NTSC, and this was obviously the start of that. The one thing that I think held Pulse back that actually benefited them in the last game was their playstyle on Truth. They played very, very slow on this flag game. We saw at one point Khalid didn't actually leave his base for a full minute, which on Truth CTF, usually aggression is rewarded. If you die on the other team side of the map, you're going to be respawning on yours, but you're still going to have the pressure on theirs. So that was quite surprising to see, and it was only sort of when there were 2 minutes left in the game and they were 2-0 down already, they went, hold up, we need to capture some flags here, we need to get across the map, we need to put some aggression on. They got one cap, but at that point it was just too late, and they gave themselves too much to do.
Solar, 28 kills, so he just went in, he got the weapons like we said he would, went absolutely ham, pretty much just trapped them back in their own base. You mentioned not leaving the base on the previous side, but it's kind of the same scenario on the other. They all just took they got the top middle control, which is exactly what you need to do. They controlled the rifles at the end of the day. Definitely they were completely outslayed, and this is the way that it's played at the end of the day. You just want to run it the way they did, and you alluded to the end mark. It was too little, too late. It was the same old, very, very annoying scenario. Pulse game in the warming up towards the end of the match, starting getting kills on the ball. They got a flag in, but there were 20 seconds left. At that point, you wanted to bring that in about halfway through the game and then turn it up. So, nice win for NTSC.
It most certainly was, but we then go to 1-1. Let's move into map number 2 now, and this is where Pulse finally managed to get one back onto the board here. And as soon as I saw this, I went, is it the same scenario? Are we going to see it kind of drawing out and going back and forth? Turns out in the end, yes, but first, let's talk about map 2 and what actually happened there.
That seemed like the SLG show for me. Even from the start of the game, he was bodying pretty much everything when he picked up the sniper rifle, and then towards the end of the game he got it again. He was just his rotation around the map and creating angles to always cover his teammates was insane. Like, he was literally hitting everything, and I think at the end of it, there was a shady double sort of halfway through, which sort of opened it up when it was very close. I think it was tied up 21. I think he hit a no scope down on the bottom of the lift. But SOG picked up a win man towards the end of this game. He then got the sniper because of it, and then they closed the game out pretty pretty much without reply. I think they actually gave up like almost 2 or 3 kills towards the end, and then that was it, game over.
He knows what he's doing with that weapon.
He's pretty good with it.
Talik on the opposing side. In fact, there's several players on the opposing side, so even if SLG hadn't had it in his hands, fair enough, he did, and he completely stormed them to a lead with the headshots that he was pulling off and the stuff that he was doing it with. And you mentioned over the rotations, putting his team in good positions, but more than anything, he kept it out of the hands of Solar and Talik, because they get that in their hands, and honestly, it's not a good sign. So even if anybody on that roster for Pulse Gaming would have had the sniper, it would have been a better scenario. It's a better scenario as having a sniper on your team, but when you've got such disgusting players of Solar and Talik who can just take faces,
I think it changes the strategy. It allows you to kind of be a little bit more aggressive and kind of screen for them. You play around the sniper in that scenario, and that's apparently what they ended up doing, and they took it here again. So let's move on to map 3 then. Again, another very close game coming in for this one, and we were predicting that some of these maps would be a coin flip, and this was a great example of it.
This was a crazy match.
It was a good match.
This was a ridiculous match. It was so close up until almost 85 all, and I think there was a triple cap that came into effect for Pulse, and I thought that's game over. We saw it was game over, but I think it was actually one of the players, I think it was Shady, actually managed to pick the rocket launcher up, even though they were under a triple cap and they lost a couple of deaths. He saw 2 players fly across the map into Red Nest just to try and get basically map position, and he managed to take both of those out. They managed to cap Blue Bend and get 2 of those strongholds back, but then almost immediately it was answered back by Pulse with another triple cap, and then they just sealed the game out from there.
It's French at its finest sometimes. It's very rubber band, so evenly matched, and Strongholds is, especially on a map like Eden, it's one that we see where you can't lock it down as much as what you can do on something, like the Rig, you lock down 2. With this one, it's all about rotating, push one, push another, move it on, be careful of watching the back and having someone go across and try and either block spawn or at least slay and push them back a little bit. But yeah, incredible comeback on this one, and just generally overall a really, really fun game to watch. And it's Stronghold in a nutshell. It can be wild and wonderful, but there can only be one winner.
They most certainly can. And then as we move into the next map here, now, when it started to come in this one, I started thinking, well, maybe actually very strong showing from Pulse. I'm thinking, you know what, they've got a lot of control here. They had a bad start, they lost the first map, but the next 3 looked pretty good. Again, though, still a close match, still could have gone either way.
Yes, very true. I mean, we moved on to Stasis, and I think you mentioned before we got into this game, it's a bit of a scrappy game type sometimes, and we really did see this. There was one particular, the first flag cap, I would need to point out and give massive props to Talik. We don't give him enough props for his objective work in games. What he actually did, he actually threw the flag out the front of the base on the pillar when the last guy was alive, decided to run it at that spawner, made him make that decision, do I retire and return the flag, or do I engage in that battle, which gave all of his teammates time to push up. He then ran it across the front of the base, lifted it up, and basically force spawned across all of the players across the map, so he had a free run in. So that was fantastic play from Talik. But then saying that, Pulse just came back really strong towards the end of this map. I
think generally how even these two teams are across every single game type is just the story of this entire series and the story of these two teams, and more importantly the pinnacle point, and it really was the game changer because it was the final cap. But we all just kind of said it, we questioned it at the end when, I can't remember which play it was going for the final return in the opposing enemy's base. He decided he was low shield, dropped down. He should have just stuck his head between his legs, but turtled up and crouched, try and move as much as forward rather than bailing away, try to get that return, because if it had got that, it'd have carried on.
Even if he would have got a few more, maybe like pixels on that return, there was another player there who jumped on it, and that could have possibly, he might have died, but he might have just got that return. So it's those slight tiny, that's how close these two teams are, like that tiny little micro plays in game that basically decided how that game panned out.
Don't get me wrong, hindsight's a wonderful thing. We can sit here all day and we're not in the seats of those players, but literally we all just kind of went, he should have just died, he should have stayed where he was and just took the death and took the hit. Hopefully someone else will help him out, because that next player didn't probably grab it for about another 1.2 seconds, and he did have a player running. So if he'd just been a nuisance, rather than even just going aggressive, stick his head down and die on the flag, anything could have happened, but they took the game.
I think that's one of those scenarios where the player probably knew, and he was like, he'll look back and go, if I just stuck it out. And again, like you said, hindsight, the player's going to be looking at probably the same thing as well, going, in that scenario he made a call, and if he could go back and do it again, he probably would have made a different one. But let's move on now. Map 5, and I think for a few people sitting there going, Pulse, are they on a roll? Is it going to be all over here? Is it going to be 4-1? Turns out no. NTSC ended up taking this map, but why?
again, arena-style map. We saw they started strong on Truth, and NTSC, I think we called it before this match actually started, how we saw them play this particular map and game type on Sunday in the Open Finals. They just were so good at collapsing and making sure that they cleared bases out. I've got to point out this kill from Solar here. That was just disgusting, that double kill. And once again, Solar went off. I think he went 15, 10, and 5. Yeah. So plus 10 with 10 assists. I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Let him off the leash, and it's kind of a map where you can just run wild and do whatever you like, and it was kind of a little bit more of the solo show. I mean, we always keep highlighting these individual players, but only on certain maps like that where it can be an individual size that brings something, something to light, so to speak. But yeah, I think we both called that, didn't we? I think we both said that we're all going to, that's definitely theirs, and we kind of knew, because it's a very much fast-paced, in-your-face kind of map, and Pulse are a little bit slow to the start. We mentioned this again, but I think we all kind of knew that should and did go in the hands of NTSC.
It most certainly did, and so did the next map, map 6, which is what we're moving on to now. And this is one of my favourite maps, simply because Talek just went berserk. He just went unbelievably, taking control, hitting all his shots, hitting every. At one point, I'm convinced he managed to bend a scatter shot around his own teammate. What we saw towards the end of that game was definitely 110% what we know Talek can do, and the Talek of old. We've seen for many, many years what Talek is more than capable of. Back on MCC, he was one of the finest, the best kind of players, and even beyond that, for the Halo titles past, he has been a god tier. And that game, really, I mean, don't get me wrong, anyone at any point can just turn up and flick on beast mode, but this was all Talek. I think it was a running right at the end, he managed to bag himself.
That was a frenzy.
Excuse me, and it's like, just out of nowhere, Talek came alive and he just sealed the deal for this one, obviously. Give them another fighting chance before we enter Game 7.
And it was all about the initial. He picked up this initial camera and rails. We actually watched the replays here where everything started for them. This is around the point that Talek just went wild. I think they managed to lock down a triple cap from this play. Talek, as you say, he went on a killing frenzy, but it was how he was getting the kills. He was defending every single stronghold. He was rotating around the map. He had the scatter shot. He had the railgun. And as you say, that shot where he bounced the scatter shot off the bottom of the rail, it was like,
yeah.
Well done, GG.
Better than I am. Simple as that.
So's everybody here.
Very
anyway,
true.
Let's move into the last map. Now, we were talking about this one as it come up, and we were saying, NTSC, they've come, they've come back at this point. They've got the momentum on their side. We would usually be saying, but it didn't appear so when we ended up getting into the game. Pulse looked a lot more comfortable, and though it was close at points, I think they probably deserved that win.
It was a strange one. I think Bravo, when he was actually casting the game, was talking about Cali. He was saying Cali's playing this really, really slow. He had sword in the base. I think he went on a little sword spree at one point, and he picked up a killing spree. But he wasn't really doing anything to help his team out, and it was very, very close. But when the game was over, Cali had some incredible stats, and he was the most positive player on his team. So I have to agree with their post-game analysis on this, which was Pulse played it a certain way. They played it quite slow, and I don't think that NTSC took advantage of that for whatever reason. But I mean, you've got to give credit to Pulse. They had a game plan, they stuck to it, and they really saw it out. And you look at the score at this point in the game, look how close it was. We come down to Game 7, it was tied up around the 30 kill mark, and then it was just a few little plays towards the end where Pulse managed to come alive. And again, it was that you can't forget how good Pulse are, and they showed it by closing out at Game 7.
There's an interesting point you actually brought up there, and I think it's kind of worth talking about. Talking about momentum going into this one here, NTSC, you're right, they just had a great game, very fast game as well. And Pulse, did they throw them off? Was this a case of NTSC, having that momentum on the side, were ready to go toe-to-toe and continually be aggressive and continually charging, only to find that when they went for it, Pulse just weren't there. They were playing their own game. And maybe that alludes to the mindset and the veterancy of Pulse. They're just sitting and going, whatever happens, we've allowed it now to go to a map 7. We're still going to play this the way we know how.
I was very surprised that after seeing what Talek did in the Game 6 that we didn't see the same performance, because if I were there, I'd be fired up and ready to rock and roll. Fair enough, we didn't see that, but we said it in the pre-game show. If this goes to Game 7, Pulse will win. This is a veteran team. They've been together for many, many years. They know what they're doing. They know how to play these kind of these scenarios where everything's on the line, they're on the pressure, and they know how to keep cool and focus and just stay calm and get the job done. And when you look at what they did, 13 kills by 2 players, 12 kills by another 2 players. That's teamwork at its finest. They worked as a team, they got the win, in the grand finals.
I've got to say, going into that last map as well, I was not expecting Pulse to win it.
Really?
Just because of the fact it was, again, an arena-style map. They'd won Regret, they'd won Truth previously. They'd just won the previous 2 games. Talek was on fire. So I have to give massive props to the way that Pulse came out. And as you say, were calm, were cool, collected, and managed to play their own game and close it out.
Something that's really not easy to do in that scenario. I mean, when you talk about players like that, you coming into it, you're coming straight off this big win as well. Like I said, you can only imagine what Talec's comments were like. He was just, you could tell he was in the pocket, he was in the zone, he was ready to go forward. And then they come out the next map, and I think he dropped 10 for 12, I think was exactly what he dropped. And you go saying, what happened to calm him down? Was he just not expecting it, or were Pulse just really just cutting him off?
There was one little play, I think, that it can work in two ways. When you come off the back of such a rampant ending performance where you're on fire and you're destroying, you get into the next game. Sometimes you can make a little mistake at the start of the game. And we saw Talek charge straight to top of car and engage in an AR battle with someone who was so far away. It was like, just calm it down, like let the adrenaline settle a little bit and get back into the game. But those those tiny little mistakes, or those little kill leads and those little silly deaths, that can come back to bite you.
It most certainly can. All right, well, that's that map broken down. Now, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, get your tickets, because you can actually be here tomorrow. The finals all be going on right here in this arena. You see the link down there, esl.gg/HCS EU Finals. Get your ticket, get here, join in the action. But coming up after this quick commercial break, we are going to be seeing Dinosaurs going up against NTSC. This is it. This is the chance. Lose this one, you do not qualify. Win it, you just get that extra chance to try and qualify. They've still got to win one more game, but it's still all to play for. All right, don't go anywhere. That's coming up right after this.